Here.
Mrs. Oshinek.
Here.
Mr. Ceniceros.
Here.
Mrs. Contreras.
Here.
We'll do our moment of silence. I think we've already done our Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance again. Also, now is a good time to silence your phone if you have not had an opportunity to do that, and we'll take a moment of silence. All right, thank you for being here. We appreciate that. And with that, we'll go to board member statements. And is there any board member that wishes to make a statement?
Go ahead.
All right, so happy May. I know that this is a crazy time of year for all of our teachers and staff. And it's been showing in all of the amazing events that we've had as a community. I was so excited to attend Littleton's Festival of the Arts at Tollison's Performing Arts Center. I got to see Lakin Prep and Fine Arts' choir and bands, which was amazing. And then we had the Littleton Art Show in Avondale City Hall. I attended the District English Language Learners Night here. Glow for Bowling, which is put on by the Littleton community group that name is like suddenly left my mind. Foundation, there we go. And then I attended Fine Arts' dance and band concerts, Country Places Leadership, Awards Day, and last night I was so excited to attend Estrella Vista's STEM showcase and saw all the amazing things. My daughter's favorite one was the manatee ecosystem that was created and how creative that was. So nice job, everyone.
Thank you.
I too was able to attend a great many events. I'm so proud of our students. I'm constantly just floored at their accomplishments and their talent, but I will spend a moment. Good evening. I will be brief, but I felt it necessary to shed light on a false statement that was published in the board update that went out on April 26th. In this publicly accessible document, Dr. Freeman shared that I volunteered at an event that was sponsored by AC Econ, a community partner. This wonderful event occurred at Collier Business Academy, the school that my own children attended. Thus, when I received the email inviting me to come and speak to the students and read to them, I jumped at the opportunity. Imagine my surprise when Dr. Freeman used my volunteerism to narrate a fallacious agenda in which I did not disclose that I was a board member, was accompanied by an Arizona Senate candidate, that the principal heading was caught off guard and, quote, unsure how to handle the situation when I arrived, and finally, that I took pictures of the classroom and the students as a backdrop.
With all due respect, this is a call for you to discuss what you attended. This is probably not the right forum to do it. You're certainly welcome to it, but not in this particular forum.
Okay. I did attend all of the events that Member Socialnik attended, as well as the art event. I attended that, the cultural event, which was absolutely beautiful. I just thought only to clarify and just to be clear that I serve our students because I want to provide equality and to really give a face to underserved communities. So thank you so much.
Anyone else? Marcus? Thank you.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Just echoing the words, everyone. It was a very, very, very busy year for us. I think I ended up attending a lot of events. I think the one I really enjoyed the most was the English Learners Night. It was truly amazing just to see the diversity and the beauty of our community. And I wanted to just hope that all of our students ended well, benchmarks and well, end of the year went well, and I wish you all a amazing summer. And I do want to just echo the words of Member Barnett that I do agree with her statement that if Dr. Freeman does have things to mention, that he should direct it personally to the board. And that's all I have.
Sarah?
I just wanted to take this opportunity. Last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I want to extend my just thanks and appreciation to all of our teachers in the district for everything that they do on a daily basis. I know even right now is challenging with the end of the school year, benchmarks testing. We just finished state testing, so I just wanted to, again, send out an appreciation to all of our teachers within the district. I also attended the bowling event a couple weeks ago, which it's always exciting to see members of the district and the community and stakeholders that are coming out to support our district. So thank you.
And for myself, I will mimic all of that. Thank you for all the hard work you do. Teachers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, it's just too many to name. We also appreciate all the parents for all that you do and making sure your children here on time and come to school. That's not an easy job while you're continuing to hold down your own employment. So we appreciate that as well. I also attended the annual art show reception at Avondale City Hall to see all the young artists, and we have many, and that was very well received. Also, I attended Orange Tree at the School Connect Changemaker recognition, where they recognized Dr. Freeman for his aspirations and his experience in leading a school district. I don't know if you brought your plaque. If not, but he did receive an award, and it's a prestigious award, so we appreciate that. We also took the West Side Impact Teacher of the Year recognition at Glendale Community, or excuse me, at GCU. Also attended the bowling fundraiser. We also, as a governing board, attended a retreat where we had a very good discussion talking about some direction, where we want to go, what we want to see, and some strategies, and as it related to community and what our community is looking for in our different school districts. So we've been busy as a board, also looking out at summer as well. So we appreciate all of that. I do want to take just a minute and talk about where we're at and what we're going, and quash any rumors or conversation you may have had, and talk about, in March, if you were here, the board tabled what would have been a standard approach to a superintendent search. That included several weeks of advertising and time for both community feedback and interviews with board members. If you do not know or have not heard, Dr. Freeman is going to be retiring at the end of this year. He's been at this district for many, many years. How many? 18 years. So he has decided to go and enjoy himself on some beach, I think. But so he will be leaving this district in December of 2024. With that, it means that one of the jobs of the board is to seek a superintendent out that we think can continue to lead down the path that we need it to be led, with innovation, new ideas, taking into account our new communities, our old communities, and all that go with it. In April, the board wanted to look at a request for proposal, or an RFQ as we call it, so that, and we would have that on the agenda later. We all know that after the board takes action, if it is released, then we continue to select a firm that will help us find a superintendent, and we hope to do that in June. There's a lot of things that has to happen. There's a lot of legality to it, and it's far more complicated than I think it sounds just reading it out loud. It is still our board's intent to include several weeks of advertising and time for both community feedback, and that's what we want you to know. Community feedback is critical to where you want the district to go and what you want to see for your children. So we will be reaching out for that as well. And interviews with board members. As a board member, also what are we looking for? What do we think we need to move the district forward? But this has put the board on a new timetable that still needs a lot of work. So tonight I cannot tell you what that timetable would look like just yet, because there's so many different moving parts. And it is very challenging, but I think the board's committed to continuing the work, getting the best leader that we can, and involving parents, teachers, every single person or stakeholder that sends children or works here. So that is our commitment to you, and that's all I have to say about that. So thank you. All right, Dr. Freeman, it's your turn to give us a superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, community in attendance. I want to start us at todos, and good evening, everybody. Well, with just about a week of school left, I want to take a moment to reflect on the theme that carried us through another academic year, Better Together. It's a simple phrase, but it captures the essence of our journey as a school community. Together, we've navigated challenges and celebrated accomplishments. We've collaborated in clubs and activities and organizations. We've cheered at sporting events, supported one another with big projects and big tests. Our collective efforts have made this a memorable year, proving that we truly are better when we're united. I'll go off script here just for a second to say that in my update, I never meant to disparage Member Barnett, and I didn't think I had.
Madam President, it's not a part of his update.
I'll take care of that, thank you. I would also mimic that if we could just skip to your
Better
updates.
Together. I'm
Thank you.
trying to communicate with people.
Thank you.
We celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week this month, which was a dedicated time to acknowledge the hard work and dedication and impact of educators on our lives. Our staff and our teachers impart knowledge, but they also help inspire, motivate, and shape the futures of our kids at Hope. Celebrating their contributions is a way of showing gratitude and respect for their tireless efforts and significant role they play in community building and nurturing young minds. Our school PTAs and student councils all plan special activities at our schools. The Littleton Notebook's a small token of appreciation that was shared with everybody to commemorate the week and shared with board members tonight. Members also have a sample of the new Littleton ESD parent brochure. The square, got it? Okay, good. This is the sample that Ms. Garrison discussed at a previous meeting. It's a culmination of nearly 2 years' worth of collaborative efforts, creative brainstorming, input from multiple community groups, with the initial idea that sprung from President Reyes's attendance at a presentation in another district that had created a brochure with parent input to help inform parents. So the Community Connections group was the first to work on the initial iteration. This group is encompassed mainly of staff and parents of students within the Littleton district. The group believed we should focus our audience on things that would appeal mainly to parents and they would want to, and what they would want to know about. And some of those suggestions were showcase our schools, signature programs, the idea of having safety included everywhere. The other groups that provided feedback were the PTAs, the I Survived Underdown Junior High Facebook group, and Cash and Has Heart. The community really valued the different resources and programs that we provided them, such as Boys and Girls Club, preschool programs, signature field trips, programming at the Welcome Center, and we want to recognize everybody who made time to give feedback to the communications team. We're also looking forward to more recognition later on the agenda today, and a little bit of a bittersweet goodbye to some of our dedicated employees as they retire from the Littleton family to embark on new journeys. So thank you all for being here today. For those who weren't able to attend tonight, we look forward to seeing them at our end of the year recognition next week. Last week, we recognized the 2024 Westside Impact Principal and Teachers of the Year during a ceremony held at Grand Canyon University with other Westside school districts. President Reyes and Member Sinceros joined in the ceremony to represent the board. We're hoping that some of those outstanding teachers are here tonight, and thank you for coming. Your unwavering commitment to excellence in education not only enriches their students' education, but sets a standard for teaching in our school district. And we have even more staff recognition activities at our schools. It's that time of year. Collier went above and beyond, partnering with local vendors and businesses who donated gift cards for our end of the year recognition ceremony next week. Of course, Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week was filled with snacks and treats for the staff. Country Place teachers received gifts each day, including cookies, snacks, and letters of appreciation. Week-long celebrations were sponsored by Service Learning Action Team, including student leaders, as well as businesses such as Potbelly, Krispy Kreme, and Nothing But Cake. Oh, I get it. Okay. At Astoria Vista, the PTSA hosted a breakfast on Tuesday and a lunch on Thursday. Wednesday was Nacho Hawks Day. The week ended with sweet treats as well as cards and gifts for teachers and aces on campus from Hawk students and their parents, as a symbol of love and appreciation. At Fine Arts, "This place would be a circus without you" was posted on all over campus, and everyday teachers and staff had access to animal crackers, circus peanuts, and that's not all the delicious treats they had from their PTSA, community partnerships, and administration had a theme for each day. "Thanks a latte," "We would be muffin without you," "No one is butter than our popular staff," "Staff really takes the cake," "Nacho average staff," and here's a scoop for the sweetest of all of these. Littleton STEM featured lunch, pastries, sweets, and salty and ice cream truck, and Quentin had nachos and a popcorn bar and desserts and ice cream floats and small gifts and tokens of appreciation. It sounds like the teachers added weight last week. Lakin and Tres Rios celebrated amazing work of their treasure hunters as well. The theme at Tres Rios was "Staff Lifts Us Up," and featured meals and activities to thank their staff for their hard work and ongoing support to make our school communities thrive. In the evening, teachers and staff who signed up also had an opportunity to come and bowl for free at the annual Littleton Education Foundation Bowling Fundraiser. We gathered at the main event together with our generous sponsors for the night of camaraderie, good food, friendly competition, lots of awesome prizes. Thank you to all of the board members who attended that event. And our heartfelt appreciation goes out to Foundation Chair Dr. Gio Grijalva, all the Foundation board members, Jessica Bateman with Rytan, Chelsea Hughes with EPS, Taylor Perkins with Chase Building Team. She also received a well-deserved reward from School Connect at the ceremony President Reyes mentioned. Matt Haid with Arthur J. Gallagher, Kelly Gentile, as well as Mrs. Garrison and Ms. Contreras, who serve as ex officio members of that board. And of course, thank you to all of our sponsors and their staff who gave up their time that evening to come and support our schools. Funds collected through the annual fundraiser help support our teacher and schools, as well as our student signature trips and special events like curriculum and instruction celebration, first-year teachers. They shared stories of tears and disappointment, but also happiness and accomplishment. Most of all, they were reminded of their tenacity, which carried them through the year to the conclusion, or at least close to next week. Our English Learner Family Night, which mentioned by the board already, was an incredible success. Creative and engaging activities were a huge hit with students and parents alike. Positive feedback we received was overwhelming, and particularly touched when one of the parents expressed a desire to be involved again next year. He shared that he's Navajo and he'd love to contribute to our efforts in celebrating diverse cultures. That kind of community engagement is what really makes our events truly special. And we want to thank our students and music teachers, amazing concerts at the Tolleson Performance Center, part of the Festival of the Arts Week. We hope you had an opportunity to visit and admire our student art at the 16th Annual Student Art Show at the Avondale Civic Center, which was already mentioned. Some of you may have attended art events over the years, and I found myself every year surprised by fresh perspectives and each thing New Year's bring in our display. There's an increase in diversity of mediums. I was particularly attracted this year to the collection of bird subjects. We selected winning pieces and purchase awards for students in various schools and grade levels. Families that agreed to the purchase of art pieces of their children will find them permanently admired in various district locations, and we'll showcase some of those pieces at the June meeting. Next week, our 8th grade promotion ceremonies will be on Monday, May 20th. Kindergarten promotion is on May 21st. The last day of school is May 22nd, with a typical Wednesday early release schedule. Exact times for each of those has been communicated to the families that are taking part, and reminders are being sent out through various media at the schools. Don't hesitate to call if you need more information on any of those, and please don't send any kids to school on May 23rd, Thursday. Summer school will start June 3rd. That's the next Monday. Invitations have been sent out, but seats are open. So if you think your child might benefit, then you can call the Family Welcome Center or your school's office to get them enrolled in summer school for the first part of June. Each summer, we also open our kitchens to the community to feed breakfast and lunch to everyone 18 years and under. That runs beginning May 29th, right after the holiday, to July 12th, except for July 4th. And it's open Monday through Thursday, not open on Friday and the weekends. And it'll be at the Collier Business Academy and here at Eva's Bistro in the Underdown Learning Center. Wrap things up, I'd like to express our appreciation to Miriam Barrera for her donation of 400 earbuds for testing, and to Carmen Gomez for $800 donation to support transportation for kindergarten field trip. Wow, that's big. And remember that the bonds we forged together here extend beyond the school's walls, beyond the calendar year. So please be safe this summer and be well. And that's all I have this evening.
Did you want to talk about the food drive real quick?
I can add that. We have ongoing, and so it's not just May and it's not just June, but people probably aware from the news that a church here in Cashion caught fire, and the damage was very severe. We've put out on all of our social media, and you may have seen on the billboard on Avondale Boulevard, we have food drive going to replace the pantry. The food pantry and clothing pantry were destroyed, and so all of the material that they had saved up over time was gone. They had another church and another group that was providing from their pantry meals that were needed, right away in the next couple days. But we have all of our schools and the district office taking non-perishable foods and foods that are going to be collected and put back into that pantry for the community service they do in their congregation and around our area. So thanks for reminding me of that. You can drop it off any place in the district office and we'll get it to the church.
Quick question with that, Dr. Freeman. I know in the social media advertisement, it said students could bring the cans to their bus drivers. Is that still an option?
Well, the short answer is yes. We're assuming that we won't have overflow, but we have spare seats on all of the buses. None of them are 100% full at 84 kids, so we'll make it work.
And I just wanted to comment again on the recognition of the retirees. I'm going to just take a quick minute and read them because that is a big milestone for many. So if you're in the audience and you want to stand up, we would appreciate it. And or if your families are here and you'd like to take pictures, maybe with your last Littleton curtain, you're welcome to do that as well. So we'll have Frank Gutierrez Jr., Marilyn Gutierrez, Maria Martinez, she's already retired, and Blanca Ortiz, also sitting on the beach somewhere. Did you want to add something, Doctor? Okay, go ahead.
We're out of
Oh,
order.
you're coming. All right, we got it.
We're
All
out
right.
of order, kind of, so.
That's okay. Out of order is a good thing. We'll catch up. Did you guys want to come up and take a quick picture before we move on? I could tell you do. That's why I thought I could see you moving around in your seats.
You want to pick with them, or what do you want to do?
We'll let them retire by themselves.
Okay.
Again, thank you for dedication and the years you've spent here. We appreciate you. That you read the Teacher Appreciation Week, and Rachel, if you'd be kind enough to read the Mental Health Appreciated.
Whereas the impact and value of the Littleton Elementary School District educators provide to our students and their families is immeasurable, and whereas teachers wear many hats, including but not limited to role models, mentors, motivators, coaches, listeners, and treasure hunters, and whereas teachers embrace students of widely differing backgrounds and often face a myriad of daily challenges, and whereas the almost 60,000 active teachers in the Arizona workforce work tirelessly during some of the most challenging times we have ever faced, and whereas we are reminded every year during Teacher Appreciation Week to show thanks to our teachers for all that they do as they educate the children of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Governing Board of Littleton Elementary School District celebrates the second week in May as Teacher Appreciation Week and calls upon our community to share their appreciation to educators.
Thank you, Amy.
Whereas good mental health is critical to the well-being of our families, schools, and communities, and whereas there is a proven connection between good mental health, overall personal health, and academic success, and whereas many people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives and should feel comfortable in seeking help and support to manage these times, and whereas each school, business, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen has a responsibility to promote mental health and well-being for all, now therefore it be resolved that the Governing Board of Littleton Elementary School District proclaims May Mental Health Month and urges others to recommit to increase awareness and understanding of mental illness, reduce the stigma, discrimination, and promote the well-being of others.
Thank you, Rachel. Now we're moving on to Dr. Haid. Here's your Thunder Goal.
Thank you very much, Madam President. The showcase this evening is divided into 3 parts, and the first one is the West Side Impact Principal and Teachers of the Year. Some of our honorees were not able to be here tonight for a variety of reasons. However, they have been recognized at the event last week at GCU, and in addition to tonight, they will be honored next week at the end of the year recognition event. So they have very busy schedules. But this evening, I'd like to start with Principal of the Year. When I'm finished, those of you that were able to come this evening, I'll have you all come up. There are certificates for you next to Mr. French, and then we'll do a group picture, and then with the board president and the superintendent. So starting with Miss Regan Headings, who was our West Side Impact Principal of the Year. She has unwavering commitment to student success, collaborative leadership, and transformative impact make her an exceptional recipient. Ms. Headings places students at the heart of every decision. She actively seeks student input, ensuring their voices shape school policies, programs, and initiatives. Her dedication to fostering a safe, inclusive, and engaging learning environment is evident in the positive student outcomes witnessed daily. She is an invaluable asset to the district. Unfortunately, she was not here tonight, but let's give her a big round of applause. Next, we have our Teachers of the Year. Starting with the Collier Business Academy for Financial Literacy, we have Jasleen Canales. Jasleen is a first grade teacher that goes above and beyond for her students, community, and coworkers. She respectfully listens to ideas and brings great ideas of her own to the table. She comes to work wanting the best for her students, and it is apparent as her students reciprocate. She plans engaging, fun, and rigorous lessons. Her kids adore her, and her colleagues like to say she is tiny but mighty. Let's give her a hand. Country Place Leadership Academy Teacher of the Year, Braden Crow. Coach Crow is a rock star. Coach always has a smile on his face and a positive attitude. He's always willing to be an ace for a student who needs extra support. He looks for the leadership and genius in each of our students. He also coaches and encourages students to sharpen the saw by being healthy and active. Thank you, Coach Crow. Estrella Vista STEM Academy for Engineering Teacher of the Year, Sandra Gallegos. Ms. Gallegos works with our EL students and has a passion for ensuring all students have the skills needed to be successful at EV. She works with their team collaboratively to plan events for students to showcase their learning during events such as Poetry Night, first grade cultural events, as well as rich off-campus learning experiences. She is a leader on campus, working with our guiding coalition to ensure all who work on our campus are supported, collaborative, and safe to learn. Thank you, Ms. Gallegos. Fine Arts Academy Teacher of the Year, Michelle Walla. Miss Walla embodies what it means to be an outstanding, impactful educator. Her number one priority is always to do what's best for the students. She's an ace for numerous children, and she pours her heart into making them the best they can be it through teaching art, coaching sports, decorating the halls, organizing school events, coordinating Falcon Fest, contributing to PTSA, or creating countless numbers of school-wide communications to our community. I'm exhausted now. Fine Arts would not be the school it is without Miss W. We have a lot of Falcons in the house tonight. Lakin Prep Academy Teacher of the Year, Laura Montano. Miss Montano was selected as Lakin's first Teacher of the Year. Miss Montano goes above and beyond to ensure every student receives a high-quality education. She supports her colleagues through mentorship and coaching. Miss Montano embodies the Littleton values and exemplifies our school mission and vision every day. As a dual language teacher this year, she has taken on teaching both English and Spanish and even taught her class, the Kids at Hope Pledge in Spanish. She's a true treasure hunter. She is a leader on our campus and loved by all. Littleton Online Academy Teacher of the Year, Lindsay Bacon. She's been a leader with the Online Academy since its inception. She demonstrates true commitment and dedication to supporting the optimal development and learning of our entire virtual community. Mrs. Bacon facilitates learning at a high level for our sixth grade students, coaches esports, facilitates our school-wide gaming club, and is our yearbook creator, gradebook tech, and digital learning leader. On top of all that, she serves as the guiding coalition leader. Thank you, Ms. Bacon. Quentin STEM Academy for Health Science Teacher of the Year, Megan Mosley. Ms. Mosley was selected as Teacher of the Year by her peers for her dedication and innovative teaching methods. Her commitment to student success goes beyond the classroom, fostering a supportive and engaging learning environment. She inspires both students and colleagues alike, embodying the spirit of educational excellence and leadership. Megan supports our guiding coalition, Kids at Hope, and our STEM Lit committee. We are grateful that she's part of the Shark Nation. Last but not least, Trace Rios Service Academy Teacher of the Year, Diana Corona, is an outstanding treasure hunter at Trace Rios, known for her unwavering dedication and passion in teaching for over 10 years. She creates a nurturing classroom environment where students feel valued and inspired to excel. Her collaborative approach and commitment to sharing expertise make her a valuable asset to our school community. She lives and models her belief that all kids can succeed. And if I can have the people who are here walk towards.
I'm going to have you go back. You forgot Littleton.
Yeah.
We didn't forget you.
Miss Avachuco, I skipped right over you. Okay, Littleton STEM Academy for Computer Science Teacher of the Year, Ashley Avachuco. She's been a valued member of the Firebird community for the past 4 years. Her leadership on the Guiding Coalition, tutoring of students, and commitment to our Walk to Read program has made her a standout. She has great relationships with her students and families, and she is a well-respected member of the school community. Her results with students are consistently high, and her willingness and open-mindedness to find new ways to improve and get better is astounding. Okay, now if you're here, come up to Mr. French, and he has a certificate. We'll get a couple pictures, please. Our next recognition piece is the retirees. I have just a quick few things to say about these four amazing people that President Reyes already introduced. Frank Gutierrez Jr. For the past 12 years, Frank has provided technology support for the students and staff in the Littleton district. His dedicated and caring personality has endeared him to many. Frank always focused on providing the best customer service possible for those that he supported, and he will be missed. Marilyn Gutierrez, for the past 11 years, has served as an educator in the district. Fellow employees mention how she means to them as a mentor, coworker, and friend. Her positive and fun-loving attitude will be missed, but the memories and impact of what she provided at the Quentin STEM Academy and greater Littleton community will be long-lasting. Blanca Ortiz, which most people know as Stella, is completing her 30th and final year in the Littleton district. She has been a loyal employee and served as a district employee in our food service department. She is the last official Littleton district employee in food service from when we started working with our contracted food service partners. Fellow employees mention her as a funny, supportive, and kind colleague that was always willing to extend assistance when needed. Finally, Maria Martinez, better known as Terry, for the past 24 years, has supported students and staff within Littleton. Her colleagues at the Littleton preschool are going to miss her caring attitude and collaboration in getting students ready for kindergarten. Most of them had wishful thoughts that she would reconsider, but she's out, and so far she's riding into the sunset. So thank you for your dedication, and at our event next week, they will be receiving their parting gifts. I don't want to give too much away, so thank you. And finally, this evening, we have our athletic showcase. Kellen Thornton, District Athletic Coordinator, will be coming forward and talking about our final season and introducing one of our newest sports pilot programs this evening that was a big hit. So, Kellen.
Hello, good evening, board. Good evening, community. This is the athletic showcase for the season quarter 4 of this season. Well, this is our mission statement. The next slide is the sports that we had this year for this quarter was volleyball, cheer, baseball, and the new sport was esports. Let's see. We had the 1 athletic coordinator, 4 site coordinators, 7 assistant principals, 3 deans, and 30 coaches help us out this quarter. This was the flyer for season 4. Our championship for girls volleyball went to the Country Place Mustangs, and they're coached by Stephanie Hooks and Esmeralda Balvineta. Sorry if I messed your name up. You guys can come on up and get your Okay.
They're excited about getting this thing hung up.
All right.
All right.
For boys baseball, the winner, the championship goes to the Fine Arts Falcons, who are coached by Melissa Castro and Amber Perry. Your team can come on up. Talk a little bit about esports. All right. Congratulations, fellas. Congratulations. Also, I wanted to recognize. Also, I wanted to recognize our first esports champion. It was Collier. Collier won the first championship for esports, and they're coached by Artisma Minchata. No, she's not here. Okay.
Their banner is coming. Kellen was holding up what it would
Yes.
look like. It did not arrive in time, but they will have one.
Esports, they're playing Mario Kart. So hopefully for the 2024-25 season, athletics plans on having esports for all the schools. But for this quarter, we just had it for Collier, Littleton, and the Littleton Online Academy. Now we're going to move on to the athletes of the season. For girls basketball, from Fine Arts. No. Is she from? Yes, girls volleyball. I'm sorry. She's from Country Place. Layla Gaeta. All right. Quick note about Layla. Layla is a new student to our school, but has quickly exemplified her leadership qualities both on and off the court. She is one of the most respectful ladies I've worked with and have the honor of teaching. She provides assistance to her teammates and lifts them up when they are down. She also does not hesitate to step in as a leader for her team and get the rest of the girls on track. She responds to feedback well and takes what is said to her and makes the necessary changes. She has a positive attitude and a motivation to others around her to have positive attitudes. For boys baseball, we have Isaac Bijarano, from Trace Rios Academy, Service Academy? No? Okay. A little bit about Isaac. Isaac embodies and exemplifies all of the leadership qualities above each and every day, whether it's during class, practice, or on a game day. He is setting a great example for what he wants for himself and his teammates to be. Each day he encourages his teammates to do their best. He has the respect of his teammates and most importantly, his coach. The initiative he takes in leading the team shows why they follow him as a leader. He is truly dedicated to his craft and always open to feedback that will help him improve his skills. His positive attitude also makes it easy to work with him and to develop into a better player. Overall, Isaac is a great example of what it means to be a baseball player on and off the field. And that is it for athletics for quarter 4.
Well, Coach Kellen, we're going to have you turn around so we can applaud you for all that you do, because it's not easy wrinkling all those and keeping track of all of it. So thank you very much for your dedication to all the sports.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Principals, if you will grab those athletes' awards for them and get those to there, thank you.
All right. I think next we have the call to the public. Is there any call to the public? Yes. Thank you. So we do have one call to the public, and it is Nicole Durazo. And just a reminder that according to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, any matter brought before the board by members of the audience may not be acted upon at this meeting. We appreciate the constituent participation and ask that attendees, which you've done that, we ask that in order to allow time for everyone, comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Please no disparagement, name calling, or personal attacks upon individuals. Board members or staff personnel will be permitted by individuals who address the board. Thank you.
Governing Board President Reyes, Governing Board members, Dr. Freeman, and Littleton community. Let me begin first by showing my appreciation to our board, your commitment to our school district, and your dedication to always ensuring the best for our children. You are taking on the greatest responsibility of any board, that is the hiring of a new superintendent. This is a decision I know you do not take lightly, and I trust you to make the best decision for our students, staff, and community. Our existing programs are an integral part of our district's identity. We have a tradition of excellence in academics, a vibrant array of extracurricular activities, and a culture of respect and inclusion. Our district is built on a foundation of strong programs, solid values, and effective systems. This has been a key part of our success. Yet, innovation is crucial in preparing our students for a rapidly changing world. Education is evolving, and we need to keep pace with new teaching methods, technology, and approaches to learning. Our new superintendent should be someone who is excited about innovation and who can inspire us to explore new possibilities while staying true to our core values. One of those core values being collaboration. I'm very excited to hear that we will have a voice and a part in that process. Change can be hard and unsettling, but being a part of the process will help staff to ensure a smooth transition. We value our current administrative team that is currently in place, the synergy that has been created by a team that has longevity and a shared mission and vision for our district. Providing opportunity for staff, students, parent, and community members to share their voice in this process would be true to the Littleton way, as we are better together. Again, I thank you for your hard work and scratch that, I still got time, right? Again, I thank you for your hard work to ensure we stay the leaders in learning, caring, and growing. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to take a look at the consent agenda and ask if any board member wishes anything pulled from the consent agenda. Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. So at this time, we'll take a quick minute to allow members of the audience, if you need to get home, help, get dinner ready, do homework with your children. We certainly understand this is a good break to leave. You're always welcome to stay with us till midnight. We don't mind that at all, but we also understand you have other commitments.
Oh, no.
My goodness. goodness. Oh, yeah, take off if you need to. My goodness gracious.
Keep me posted.
Oh.
If you see me get up and
Yep,
walk out,
by all
that's
means.
fine.
I wish
Is
her
there
well.
anything you want to discuss?
We can move
It's okay. That's fine. I just wanted to
first to
let you
her.
guys know.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we're moving on to number 10, which is for you, Mr. French.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman and Littleton community. This evening, we'll be reviewing the fiscal year 23-24 budget revision number 2. All districts must revise their budgets by May 15th, as the 15th is the last day in statute that allows for a revision each fiscal year. This revision allows districts to capture any additional funds from growth over the course of the year or revise down to match the Department of Education's calculations. Since the last budget revision we did in December, the district has grown by 140.1786 weighted average daily membership. That resulted in the majority of this budget increase we're going to be discussing this evening. The district also increased carry forward in the M&O budget from the prior fiscal year of $40,373. With the increased ADM growth, the district was also able to capture increased portion of the state allocation of Prop 123 and one-time supplement that the governor approved or the legislature approved in this year's state budget. The total budget increase is, this increased the budget by $12,472 and $49,709 respectively. The total budget increase is $791,447. This increase will help the district offset increased costs to SPED private placements, transportation for SPED and McKinney-Vento students, as well as increased utility costs. As is with every budget and revision, the district has aligned the budget with the anticipated expenditures and distributed budgets in the appropriate categories and functions. We're also revising the district additional assistance, or DAA, this evening. There are a couple of factors that have led to revising this budget up this evening. The district is carrying forward more DEA funds from FY23 due to the ESSER utilization. The district also received $620,000 from School Facilities Division for building on...
Excuse me, Mr. French. I neglected some of my duties. Let me make those correct.
When we had everybody leave, we were supposed to say we were going to go into recess for the hearing.
Yes.
And we were doing too many things at once.
Well, I thought you were doing it. You thought I was doing it, so here we go. We are we're going to recess for our public hearing, and so that has been noted. Thank you.
Do you want me to start where I left off?
I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
The district also received $620,000 from School Facilities Division for building on the donated land for Lake and Prep. This was 20% of the assessed value of the property at the time of title change. The district was also able to capture roughly $95,000 in interest income for a total revision of $1.317 million. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board or the community.
Is there questions on that revision? Hearing none at this time, we'll make a motion to reconvene. And is there a motion?
I motion we reconvene.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll convene back in at 7 p.m. Thank you. And Mr. French, we're going to keep moving right on with you.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 11 is the action item for the revision number 2. So at this point, I would recommend the board adopt the budget revision as presented.
I move that the governing board adopt the revised expenditure budget for fiscal year 2023-2024 as presented, and the authorization of expenditures in the M&O section in excess of any subsection, provided all expenditures do not exceed the total budget.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion will pass. Thank you. Mr. French, carry on.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 12, we'll be discussing the DEA override election. The district has taken the feedback from the board from our last regular board meeting regarding the potential DEA override election in November. To recap, the last DEA override election was in 2018 and allowed the district to levy for $2,350,629 each year. The override in 2018 allowed the district to pay for items such as expansion of the one-to-one Chromebook initiative, paint and weatherization for 5 schools, 7 new school buses, a new white fleet vehicles and activity bus, an upgraded phone system, new shade structures for students at the schools, and technology upgrades such as projectors, audio enhancements, Wi-Fi capability, and student curriculum. Administration realizes that a dollar today is not worth what it was in 2018, nor are we educating the same number of students. We analyze the information on student growth and inflation and discuss the amount of funding needed to provide the same level of support as in 2018. We took inflation of 22% from 2018 to present and student growth from the same time period. The district would need to increase the override by approximately $1 million per year to keep up with the same purchasing power for capital items. This amount that we would be asking for would account for the lowest tax rate asked during a DA override election. We've had 2 of them so far, with a potential third, 2012, 2018, and 2024. And it would stay below the 10% limit in the revenue control limit. Since our last meeting, the district has consulted with Stiefel and our bond attorneys to draft a resolution to call for an election in November, and it's attached to this item. The resolution shows the official ballot language, what the informational pamphlet would include, the cost to an average owner occupied residence, as well as the list of proposed capital improvements. The district did remove any administrative purposes on the override language and consolidated the language from the 2018 ballot, which included 4 non-administrative items, down to 2 in the 24 ballot. There is a calendar of events in the details of this item, which is also important. If the resolution is called this evening, the board's next step would be to adopt a pro statement for this pamphlet. This would most likely be brought to the board either next month or in July. All pro-con statements are due to the state by August 9th, and early voting starts October 9th. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions for the board.
And just for clarity, this is for the override election, but the draft of the pro statements we have not seen yet, and those we will review and put it on the June agenda. Is that my understanding?
Madam President, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we're asking for a review of item 12, the DEA override election.
Thank you, Ryan, for the clarification and all the information on this. Just for clarification, if the board was to choose to have further conversation on this item, we could have that conversation in June.
Madam President, Member Sinisteros, Jim, if you go back to the calendar for me real quick. We have to have a draft and everything signed to the county by July 8th.
Okay.
So if the board so chooses, we have, I think, one more meeting to have a discussion.
Okay. And then just for confirmation on the ballot, we are asking for a lower tax rate. So it will say no tax increase.
Member Sinisteros, what we would be asking for is a $1 million increase to the current levy.
To the current.
The information I provided this evening was that in 2012, the override tax rate was 81 cents. In 2018, it was 90.3 cents. What we're asking for is a tax rate of 73.58 cents. So it's going to be the lowest of the 3 DA override amounts. It's not...
But it is a tax increase.
It is a tax increase because we are asking for additional funds.
Understand.
Okay.
And it changes every year.
Based on assessment. of-
Based on assessed value.
The amount stays the same, so if the tax base changes, the tax rate changes to get that amount.
Understand.
Okay. I think I'm going back to the proposals you brought to us, which I did appreciate those. I feel like there should be more conversation on those 2 proposals that were brought to us. I believe at the time we didn't have our full board, so I didn't believe that there was a full discussion amongst all 5 board members and input on those 2 proposals. So with that being said, I believe that there should be an opportunity for us to hear more information on that, and I don't feel comfortable. I think seeing that our current tax rate is 90 cents, 90 right now per $100.
Member Sinisteros, that was what it was in 2018 when the ballot came
Yes.
out. So it has changed with assessed value over the last 6 years.
So as of right now, is it higher?
It
than 90?
is, it's
Lower?
lower. It's 58 cents, I believe.
58 cents right now?
Correct.
Okay. I'm just going back to those two proposals because I believe that there should be more discussion and action on it. So if there's no other comments,
Well, I think what we'll do is, it sounds like you would request to table it, correct? So at that point, I will ask for, if there's anyone that wants to make a motion on it. If I hear no motion and no second, then I'll assume it is tabled. So is there anyone that wishes to make a motion comfortable with what it states and the two items? Yes.
I can't remember if I'm doing this correctly, so here's my question. Can I ask you what other conversation you would like to have? Because that will depend on if I want to move this or if I want to table.
well, I guess, is it possible for the board to have both resolutions as voting actions at the next meeting? Is that a possibility, or is that not okay? I don't know if that's legal.
Member
term for
Sinisteros,
that.
just so I understand, you want to vote on two separate resolutions that would have two different dollar amounts attached to those? And two
Yes.
different tax rates attached to
Are we allowed
those.
to do that?
Madam President, Member Sinceros, we did check with the attorneys on that, and they said it's legal, but nobody's ever done it.
Okay.
Probably the answer to
So-
that's no.
The, well, there's the politics of the whole thing, with the problem being that the ballot goes down in descending order by size of the district, and we're the tiniest district, and some people are saying the ballot may be 3 pages in November. So you would be having 2 questions, and Towson Union has a question as well. So, you could, I mean, it's completely at the discretion of the board.
I'm not asking for just no 2 questions on the ballot.
That would look.
Yeah, just having a clarification, could the board vote for the 2 proposals Ryan brought to us last meeting at the next meeting?
Yes, they
I,
would.
Yeah.
I think I'm understanding what you're asking. Correct me if I'm wrong. What you would like us to do is, Ryan brought us 2 proposals last time. One was for asking for a higher amount with the possibility of saying we would go into looking for maybe solar or other types of renewable energies. Or we could go with this one that we currently have, which was a lower amount. And so you're asking, could we possibly have both of those on the agenda and have that discussion in June to determine which one we possibly want to go with? Am I
Yeah.
right? Okay.
All right, so, Member Sosnick, Member Sinceros. So what we did at the other meeting was we showed you 2 numbers. Essentially, I'm gonna use round numbers, 350 million or 400 million. The limit is 400 million, which is 10% of that aggregate budget in the year that we're going out.
4
So,
4 million.
what?
3.5 or 4.
3.5 million or 4, yeah,
Right.
wrong decimal place?
Yeah.
That's why I got him. So 4 million or 3.5 million. So now, so what we said was in that gap in between would be to use that money to take advantage of sustainability opportunities, that present themselves in the period of the 7 period of the override. So that was discussed, and the board directed us to go with the 3.5. That's the work that we had the lawyers and the finance guys and everybody do. That work is done. Essentially, what we would need to do, if you want to table it and bring it back, is ask them to do the same work, only with the 400 number and with the extra line, which would show another line of renewable category. And it would also show you the tax rates, and by comparison, how that would look on the ballot. You would have essentially an A or a B plan that you could vote to move. We just are going to pay the attorneys more.
Member
And it-
Sinisteros,
Yeah.
I think maybe one of your points was we didn't have everybody convened at that meeting. Did you want me to review what we talked about as that additional option with the board now, or did you?
Yeah, if we can't do that, yeah.
Madam President, is that okay? It's a paragraph, a quick paragraph that I had for that additional funding.
But so my thing is the tax rate, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding, would there be an option A or a B on the ballot, or is there just, this is it, and it's 400,000 or 4 million or whatever it is?
President Reyes, I believe what we're deciding on is if we would take the $3.35 million item or the $4 million item to.
So it's an
the-
either or?
Correct.
Okay.
Because my point is that with federal dollars, it's now more better than ever for us to invest into solar. And I think that I'm really, really pushing for that because there is federal programs where we could get between 30 and 70% covered. And I think that those dollars only last this decade. So they're only going to be at a certain inflection point. And most of school districts in our area, elementary school districts and our high school districts, already have solar. So I think the question I'm asking is that we look at 90 cents from the proposal, and that would be an 87%, 87 cents. So technically, from the last ballot measure, it would be a lower percentage from the last ballot measure, but asking our voters that because it technically is a lower number on the ballot, we would be able to make more innovative investments that would help us compete and do innovative ways to attract students and compete with charter schools, because charters in our area don't have solar panels or have EVs, let alone transportation. So because we think of innovative ways to compete with other entities and to bring in more innovative ways to think about around the non-traditional ways of school. That's what I'm asking, is that could we?
Let me just ask for clarity. So yes, I understand the tax rate would be 87 cents. Let's just say whatever it is, right? But that's 87 cents per assessment. So when I'm looking at my tax bill, I'm not thinking it reduced. I'm thinking it went up just because of the pure assessment value, right?
Can you open the
That's what
document
I'm afraid
and
employees.
scroll down to the tax
would
impact?
see, right? You're going to say, well, my taxes didn't go down, right? They're not lower, they're higher, but that's because of the assessment. Does
Right.
the brochure explain that well?
We can in information material to the community explain
there,
that,
right there,
but
Jim.
the text is limited in the ballot by the legislature.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So if you zoom in on that, what's going to happen is, one of the analyses we did is, so if you can, let me see if I can get down there, because I'm going to have trouble reading.
Yeah, I can't see that either.
Okay, so tax rate on owner-occupied average, limited value 150, right? And so that would be $111 over the course of a year. Here's what happened since the last override. Your property value went up 47%, 147%. But the tax we're proposing only grows 20%. Essentially, your property value is growing twice as fast, which makes the DAA override still a really good deal. If the number that would not change if we brought this back in another pamphlet is the first column, and the second column stay the same. The net assessed valuation is just 10% of 150, so that's 15. The tax rate for the override would go up if you increase the amount from 3.35 million to 4 million. And then I don't have the answer for the estimated annual tax. It would be a little bit higher, but that's the question I think that the board's weighing for. Now, here's what happens though, because remember Mr. French said it was higher when we approved it last time. As companies put in property around us, not houses, but commercial property, the ratio of property value that's commercial goes up, and they pay a property tax. The residential share goes down. That's why we're able to do this at a less expensive rate. So what happens is, as long as there's construction in the community, your district override tax rate will go down each year. There's new value added to the community. So it started out at, what did you say, at 93 cents? And then went down to 58 cents or something. We didn't change the amount. The amount Littleton got never changed. But the way it was distributed in the tax base goes down because we had construction. During the recession, that wasn't true. The tax base didn't go up, and so it would have been more even. That we anticipate is going to continue to happen with all the building around, and especially around the I-10 corridor and that kind of thing. But it's impossible for us to know or project, and in the ballot, the legislature wouldn't allow us to. But in informational material, we could.
Madam President, just quickly, I ran some of the numbers. If we were to have an 87-cent tax rate and do the $4 million, it's roughly $21 more to the average taxpayer per year. 132. Yep.
But then adding on to that, solar has historically been able, there has been school districts that have been able to get money back because of the investments they've put into solar, because it gets saved energy costs. So I think one thing we could think about is how much money could we be investing, and could we be getting that money back through solar because of energy cost savings that school districts get because they have solar.
I don't think the argument is that. I think with recession so high and everybody saying people now, you ask, they don't care if it's $5 or $25, it's going up. That's all people see. So, we really just want this to pass, and, adding another, 400, I don't know what the community would see and feel about it, because we're not the only one on the ballot asking for a tax increase. We're right there among all a bunch of other ones. So I just think all we're thinking about now is what the community can take, what would it be willing, and I don't have the answer to that.
I want to say this, I see both ends of it, but just to play devil's advocate, I can see if, as Mr. French said, if it's such a minuscule amount, and then as Member Siniceros is saying, if that amount could be offset by the savings, and then also the allure of being able to say, we have potentially this, clean energy, and maybe that will get us more students, because I know our enrollment is low. I spoke to a principal last week, and she conveyed to me a concern with regard to particular grades, like we need to get this grade of student. And I think that might be something, like if we had that potentially, maybe that would be an allure for people to send their children here, and then that would then increase the amount of funds that we have as a district. So I see both ends of it.
Yeah, I would agree. There's two opposite. I think anytime you're innovative, right, where it's solar or whatever it is, but I think that's a whole nother conversation. But, parents for the most part aren't going to send their kids here because there's solar on top of their, they like it, they like that technology, but, there's other things. So I don't know how the board feels. We need to make some decisions, and if we want to table it and come back and have more discussion, we could certainly do that too. That's fine, and maybe that is what it is, because it seems very, we're still talking about it. So unless someone wants to make a motion and then just take an individual roll call, we'll just table it and bring it back.
I have a question. Just in regards to the timeline. So if we table this and move it to the June meeting, I know that it doesn't have to be submitted till July 8th, but I also know there's a lot of other responsibilities and work that goes towards that. I know, reaching out to the attorneys, things like that. Is that still a realistic timeline to have that submitted by the 8th?
Yeah, Member Contreras, that would be our last opportunity. So
Okay.
we would still be able to have everything submitted to Maricopa County, but it would be our absolute last opportunity. If the board didn't make a decision, we'd have to wait a year to go out to about another ballot.
Okay.
So is there someone that wants to make a motion to move it forward, or if I don't hear it, I'm going to make the consensus that we're going to table it and bring it back for an action on the next June meeting?
I motion the governing board table the DAA override election resolution / action item to have administration bring back to us proposals for the 87 tax rate that we discussed at our last meeting, and this one.
So the motion is on the table to bring it back in June, and so I'll take a motion for that. You could do an individual roll call, or we can just say it. So is there?
Need a second?
Oh, a second, I'm sorry, thank you. Is there a second on that?
I'll second to the tabling.
Okay, so I have a first and a second. I'll take a roll call. All in favor of tabling, say aye. I'll do an individual roll call if you would, please.
Mrs. Reyes?
No.
Mrs. Soshnick?
Aye.
Mr. Ceniceros?
Aye.
Mrs. Contreras?
No.
Mrs. Barnett?
Aye.
So the motion will pass, it will go forward, and we'll move it to the next June agenda. Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a request, Mr. French, that when you come back with us, to us, will you bring cost savings from other districts potentially that we could maybe getting from solar? Because that will be pivotal in my mind.
Good, yeah, that's good data. All right, so we will bring this item back.
You can't do that, I'm sorry.
We can't do what? I'm sorry, what are we doing now?
Madam President, Ms. Sosnick, so there's a provision for borrowing money for energy savings. And usually when we do that, and we've looked at those before, but the board hasn't moved forward. So in order to do that, you need to have the total kilowatt hours or surface area of your solar panels and the total cost of installing them. So then with the kilowatt load on your solar panels at the rate APS charges per kilowatt hour, we can calculate that out, what would come back to the grid or come back to us over X number of years. We've used as a conservative estimate, if we can get that paid back between 8 and 10 years, that we would enter into energy savings contracts. In order for us to do savings, we need to know the size of the solar panel array and what that would cost. We don't have a solar panel array cost, and part of the reason we haven't moved forward isn't because of the expense of solar panels, it's because through the course of the pandemic, the cost of steel went up. The infrastructure we need to lift and so we missed that window of opportunity by not doing it when it was cost effective. To Member Sinceros's point, there's federal money out there for matching. Now, if you don't take advantage of it, you'll miss the opportunity to take advantage of that. The cost savings, we can tell you, is what the kilowatt hour rate we pay to APS is, but how much panel we put up is how much savings, and that's an M&O savings. So that would actually help to go back to the M&O budget, which is salaries and benefits and all of those things. But we can't give you an estimated savings without knowing the estimated size of the project.
I think what Member Sosnick was referring to is bringing like similar sized school districts who have done something that we're trying to look at doing. Does that make sense?
I mean, we can bring back a thing that says 20 panels or 60 panels or something like that.
Of a
but
similar sized school district. Does it?
You still have the cost of the project isn't just the panels. That's the
Okay, no,
problem.
I understand. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the math is pretty simple for the solar part. It's when you buy the panel, they'll tell you how many kilowatt hours in an average, with the sunlight that we have in Arizona, it would produce at a given year, and then that tells you how many kilowatt hours. You take that times the rate that you're paying APS, and you know how much the panels will produce. But we're not just laying them out in the parking lot and wiring them together. We've got to put them someplace. Our roofs are not engineered to take the additional weight. We looked into that to see if we could use that. So that's why you see so many of these over parking places and that kind of thing, is when that I-beam steel was more affordable, people were putting them up like crazy. We chose not to do it at that time, and that was probably a critical window. Who knew the pandemic was coming?
I think it sounds like if you could just bring us whatever you can put together to give us some, even though we know it's a rough estimate, just so that we can have more information.
We have a small project we asked the architect to draw for covered parking for the maintenance yard for their equipment that would be a certain size and cost. I mean, that's kind of in the chute, so getting that in a month as an example wouldn't be
that's
hard
fine.
to do, but that's probably the most that we could do
That would
with
be
that,
fine.
with any kind of realistic expectation of the
Okay.
board. I don't want to.
That would be fine.
Any information you can get us
Yeah.
that would help me
Yeah.
have a better idea of what I'm voting on would be appreciated.
So, Member Soshnick, I do know that we visited this at one point, and during our last bond proposal, we had thought about possibly setting some money aside to buy the solar outright. And that would produce immediate savings, right? Because we're not in a performance payment plan or anything like that. Adding roughly $650,000 to the bond or to the capital override each year, we would have to enter into an agreement and finance this. So to Dr. Freeman's point, we try to look to have something maybe an 8 to 10 year payback. So we're not seeing any savings in that 8 to 10 year window. All of our savings happens after that. When we had this conversation at one point, we were looking at like a 20-year return payback, and granted we can mess with the payments each year to the financial institution to change that, but to Dr. Freeman's point, steel went up extraordinarily high. Labor costs have gone up extraordinarily high. Even with the federal funds, we were looking at extremely long payback.
Yeah, I think the board though would just want to see it, and then they can decide if it's, not something we can look at this
bring a
time.
sample.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. All right, we're going to move on to number 13.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the governing board. Item 13 is group compensation for next fiscal year. Nothing has changed since we spoke in April. We don't know if they're any closer to passing a budget at the legislature. We're hearing that it could be June, but we also heard from ADE if they don't have a budget passed, I believe by the 28th of May, then we will have provisional forms to adopt or propose on next fiscal year. I will go over some of our knowns or our best guesses as to what we're going to see. We are assuming that we are getting our 2% inflation adjuster to the base. We haven't heard anything from the legislature that is said that we won't get that. That is the absolute minimum that they could give us. They could take money away from us elsewhere, but my understanding is the base is required to have a 2% or inflation, whichever is less. The classroom site fund calculation came in. Districts will receive $792 per weighted pupil in FY25. This is an increase of $34 from FY24. Benefits, we talked about this a little bit, but we did not have to increase benefits rate. We had very good experience last year for the district, and so that's going to be a cost savings to the district as well that we could use to put into compensation next year for employees. ASRS rates changed slightly. They decreased slightly from 12.29% to 12.27%. The ACR, which is for retired employees that come back to work, will increase from 9.99 to 10.19. With that information, administration is proposing the following changes for FY 24-25. We're proposing a 2.5% increase to all returning staff, utilizing the inflation funding increase to the base support level and the savings that we received through our medical benefit program having better experience than expected. We are also recommending providing a $1,000 retention stipend to all returning staff using ESSER funds. Those run out in September, and so this is our last shot at providing those funds to staff members. We're also asking the board to approve doubling the performance incentive for admin, support staff, and related services. This would cost approximately $180,000 to the district, and providing an additional $180,000 in teacher compensation, which includes doubling the classroom split amount that they're receiving for covering when other teachers are not there, as well as whatever is left in that fund it'd be split amongst all returning teachers. Averages out to roughly 6.5% to the average teacher. Total. I mean, not that point, but everything that we're recommending this evening would be about a 6.5% increase. 2.5% of that would be continuing. 4% of that would be one time.
Okay. Questions regarding compensation? Yes.
Not just a question, but a comment. I think it's just amazing that we are able to give out all these amazing additional funds and resources to our staff, even though the legislature is going to have a budget deficit this year. I think it's great to see us stepping up and finding ways we can do it at the local level. So thank you guys for this.
So with that, I'll need a motion.
I move the governing board approve a base salary increase of 2.5% for returning staff for fiscal year 24-25 and a one-time compensation increase for retention of staff, performance enhancement, and recognition of additional work performed.
Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. Okay. Dr. Haid?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This item tonight is to consider revisions to the Classroom Site Fund, sometimes affectionately known as the 301, which is why we put that in the description, for the 24-25 school year. We have a couple members in the audience. We did put the list of names, but I would like to call out Mrs. Rabia Musil and Dr. Cagle, who are in the audience and helped work on this plan, so thank you very much for doing that. Last year, we made significant changes to the plan so that we had common goals for all employee groups that trickled down from the district, the superintendent, the schools, and the teachers. And so all of us were working collaboratively to focus on 3 specific goals. So knowing that, we have not gotten our data back this year. So the recommendation by the LEAP committee to the administration was to make no changes to the plan to continue through, so we would have an opportunity to see how that played out. We think it will work out well, but we did clarify some language in the back on the district committees to more clearly identify the requirements for receiving compensation on the committees that were paid versus stipends that are paid on a different schedule that you did. So I would be glad to answer any questions that you have. The draft is attached. With that, we are asking you to approve the Classroom Site Fund Plan for the 24-25 school year.
Questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I motion the governing board approve the Classroom Site Fund for fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you. I'll need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. We're moving on to item 15, Dr. Haid, for discussion here.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. It's my pleasure this evening to bring the Parent-Student Handbook for the 24-25 school year. Annually, this handbook is brought to you for information. And so as we start to go through the slides, we do have some minimal changes, but we'll walk through that. So the purpose of our handbook is a contract.
Excuse me, if we have questions, is it best to go by slide when you get there, or is it best for us to wait till you finish through this? How would you prefer?
I think it would be best at the end of the slide.
Okay.
That sound okay? Okay. This is a contract with our community. It defines our district-wide expectations. It supports communication, and then it also reduces the need for the individual forms. And so we just outline the purpose of having this handbook. So through the review process, we worked with principals, assistant principals, deans, site secretaries, and students. Directors, coordinators, supervisors, they provided updates to their individual department sections, and the executive team reviewed the changes that were brought forward. We also had input and innovative ideas from the Parent Advisory Committee. And so we just wanted to give you an opportunity to see who looked at it when it came forward. The handbook cover, you are the first to see the new theme and graphics that Dan created for us, so thank you very much for that. So we're continuing the Better Together, but inserting Littleton Strong at the beginning of that. So we appreciate him and his staff of like 0.25, so that he worked to put this together for us tonight. The next slide is probably the part that you're going to have the most discussion on. So what I'd like to do is talk about this annual revision process that we've been going through for the last 5 months. Different groups have been meeting and revising and talking and discussing things. So the changes are actually minimal. We have had the base of this parent-student handbook at about 18 years ago, and so it's really gone through and held its own as far as the communication that we have with the community. So we're going to go through those revisions and recommendations now. On page 7, which is athletics, we added esports, which you heard Kellen discuss this evening, and the cheer to the program list to make sure that those sports were covered. On page 14, food service, we updated the prices that the board voted on and took action at a recent meeting. This was an increase of 10 cents, $2.50 to $2.60, and that's reflected in the handbook. Again, on page 14 is the dress code. We're bringing that forward because we know that there was some discussion that wanted to happen. There were no changes to the dress code being recommended. Per policy, the handbook specifies the specifics of what the dress code expectations are. And so there were no recommendations to change the color or the type of shorts or skirts or shirts or pants or polo shirts with that. On page 28, student behavior, we added some language referring to digital disruptions. You might have been noticing in the board update, there have been quite a few discussions about cell phones and digital devices and things like that that distract from the learning environment. So there was some language for that. On page 33, for student enrollment, we updated the language to match what's in governing board policy JFB. And finally, on page 38, for student transportation, we clarified that, adding language to remind all students that they need the badge for riding a bus for field trips and after-school activities, and updated the reference for the license to learn throughout. And if we have questions on this piece.
Is there questions on the handbook? Does anybody want to discuss the uniforms?
Oh, I know there's one more slide.
Yes, we just said we would take questions at the end of each slide.
Oh, end of each slide.
Yes.
Okay.
So is there questions on the dress code? Is there something people want to see changed? Do we need? Okay, so this would probably be the place to start conversation.
You want to open page 14?
Yeah, that would be helpful if we could get to page 14. I mean, we probably all can do it ourselves too. Thank you.
It covers a few pages. It starts on page 14, but it's a big section, so. Member Senator, what you want to discuss is on page 20. Is that what I heard you say? Okay.
It's the page in the book 20, it's not 20 on the PDF. So it's page 15 in the book, but page 20 in the PDF.
Oh, because the PDF counts the table of
Yeah.
contents.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
Right there.
Microphone's not on, sorry. So the thing is, I've been on the board, over a year and a half now, and I've had the opportunity to visit almost all of our campuses and have conversations. I attended Career Day at Fine Arts, and I just think, the one topic that just happens to always come up when I either talk to staff or especially students is uniforms. A lot of them actually don't know why they have to wear uniforms in the first place. So I actually sat down with the 8th graders, each 4 classes, and actually went through the policy, which is policy JICA, and we actually read through the policy and reviewed it. I think it kind of opened up their mind to not thinking that the principal is the one forcing it onto them. It's actually the 5 people in the front office hanging up that they said that forced it on them. So I think just kind of reviewing the general requirements, I think the one thing that really just, to me, it just doesn't make any sense is having students only wear black and white inside the classroom and not allowing them to wear any other jacket or hoodie inside the classroom. That's one that really particularly sticks out to me. There's another section right under the general requirements. Is that all kindergarten through 8th graders are obviously required to wear a district badge, but it says 6th through 8th grade students are allowed to wear any lanyard of their choice. But when it comes to kindergarten through 5th grade, from my understanding, they're required to wear the Littleton ESD lanyard. Is there a particular reason why we make the
Member
little ones?
Sinaceros, yes, there's actually a couple reasons. One, we had input from the teaching staff. The little ones with the regular lanyards were too long, and they also would get caught on things. So we created lanyards that are breakaway, so they don't choke themselves and do things. So the primary kids get those. And again, shorter and smaller. And then this was one of the things that we listened to the student group about, like we're giving them a little bit more freedom because they can't wear logos and things like that, but they get to wear their choice of lanyard when they get to middle school. So it was student recommendation.
So I wasn't aware that that was a concern, that we had a surplus of children who were choking themselves.
Member Barnett, it wasn't that they were choking themselves. We've probably had these lanyards, the breakaways pre-COVID. It's just that because they hang down, they're so long, they get caught on the drinking fountain and different things. And so it was a precaution so that would not happen.
That makes sense. My only concern with it is even having my son, he was here in 1st grade and onward, I would say I probably bought 5 lanyards because unfortunately the quality of the lanyards that we are purchasing from the school is subpar at best. When given the opportunity to buy other lanyards, there are other breakaways, but they have, a more secure back into them. I had no less than 5 times I was called up to the school to purchase a new lanyard or, a new badge because it was lost because the lanyard just falls apart. So it becomes a hardship to some families who are already struggling. It's a minute detail, but it adds up.
We can certainly look at the company and the quality that we have, and that's great input. And we can ask the schools and see if there's a disproportionate amount of the little ones, having the lanyards. But that is the difference, the reason why we do it that way.
I know this is just a discussion on, the handbook, but I think as we think about just the jacket requirements, obviously students shouldn't show up wearing inappropriate things on jackets, but I think when we think of jackets, my little sister comes home complaining every day because she's allowed to wear a sweater outside, but when she gets inside, she has to take it off, and then she's cold in the classroom, and then she can't wear a pink sweater because our policy and handbook strictly states that she is only allowed to wear a black or white sweater. So I think, we think about other school districts such as Peoria, Mesa, Tempe Elementary, other school districts in the area, Pendergast even up right above us, who don't have those requirements. I think it's just thinking of ways that we can lessen even a financial burden that places on our students and parents. So I think that's something that, obviously, my input on that.
So, Member Sinaceros, I know that the historical questions we were able to discuss about the lanyard, and this was a little bit new into my purview, but I do remember a long, long time ago that the reason why we chose the specific hoodies, sweaters, things like that. Dr. Freeman, would you lend your historical memory to why we chose specific colors and hoodies for the students?
So when I came here, there were 2 colors of tops. I think they were mauve and Kelly green and khaki pants. And so over the years, based on feedback, we added the navy bottoms, and then we have slacks and skirts, so there's some variety of apparel. And we added heather gray. So I think one of the arguments was if everybody goes out and shops for Kelly green and maroon, then you're the last one to Walmart. There's no options left for you. So it gave a third option. They're all plain, no logos, no other identifying things. So they met the criteria for that. But the kids weren't allowed to have any of the outerwear. So then the question that came before the board, well, if we were going to allow outerwear, how would we do that and still avoid disruption? And I think it was also a question for kids who wanted to wear T-shirts underneath their shirt, because one of the issues we have, like your sister, is the temperature of the room varies throughout the day and throughout the school. And so people are, and different kids in the same room can be cold or be hot, and plus the temperature of the room changes, and the temperatures of the kid change when they come in from the playground and it's 100 outside. So the idea of that was to try to add flexibility. I thought the outerwear was still allowed to match the other 5 colors, which is blue, khaki, maroon, heather gray, and green, and they added black and white. So that would put us up to like, well, black and white, is we art teacher gone? They're not really colors, they're not hues, they're shades or something, tints, and, but anyway. So the pattern has been, to your point, to add options through the years to create flexibility for parents. When we asked about this with the Parent Advisory Council, they were quite happy with it. I could see where the kids would have differences of opinions. Nobody's brought up pink before, but I can see where obviously when you go through the policy, you see the main reason is that, you know, kids aren't bullied or ostracized or anything for, but it has changed and evolved over time for flexibility and convenience of parents, and we just didn't have feedback from any of those groups that they wanted to add additional colors. I think the main concern of the district is that they're just, you know, plain flat colors with no symbols or insignia that could be identifiable to another group. That's the main safety concern.
Well, I think historically, there was a concern of gang activity here. And we had the police department come in and suggest colors. I'm not saying that still exists or doesn't exist, but suggest colors of what would be easily identified or not at that time gang-related.
Which was why blue was excluded originally.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
exactly why blue was excluded, and they came in and looked at our colors. Actually, they had a big hand in helping pick those colors. Now that doesn't apply because it's been many years ago, and obviously the gang activity is not the same type or model that it was, so yeah, that's where they came from.
The 8th, when I was at, what was the fine arts thing? Was it career day or, yeah, it was career day. So the 8th graders asked me about it too. I don't know if you'd already been there, but they asked me about it, and I told them about, you know, 49ers and Raiders, and they looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. So it's not really part of their, you know, current culture or vernacular. It's historical. It's taken us back to a time when it was a problem, but I think those of us who lived through that don't want to go back to it. The 8th graders seem completely unaware that kids used to use NFL teams for gang affiliation, you know, making it look innocent enough, but then kids would still get cornered or beat up on the way home because of it. And so that was informative to me, is the things that we carry historically, those 13-year-olds, it wasn't part of their, you know, normal thinking or discussion or.
Is there some particular color or something we want to change that we have a strong, is that what this would be?
You know what I was thinking, you know, would it be possible, you think, to even lift the restriction as it related to outerwear colors? The reason being is that, you know, I understand the reason years ago why this was, but recently I worked in a different district and there was no uniforms at all. And of course that school had issues, but it wasn't issues related to people being bullied based on their clothes. And in fact, it's hard sometimes to find khakis or to find the navy blues, and I've heard students from our district being made fun of because they're flooding. And the reason they're flooding is it's not so easy to find that. I've had issues going to the store around school time, and I'm struggling to be able to find enough pair of khakis, enough pair of the blue pants, and you know, before you know it, your kids are, you know, it's lifted over there, you see their socks, and that's what they get made fun of.
No, yeah, no, I agree with that. What would we like to see?
Well, I guess this is just the handbook. I think a review was a particular reason why I think to review the actual policy.
The policy refers to the handbook.
Refers to the handbook.
Yes.
But in order to make changes, we would need to,
We'd have to bring the policy
bring the
forward.
policy forward.
No, you don't. The policy talks about the rationale, and then it says that the dress code policy will be addressed in the parent-student handbook.
Okay, must have missed
So-
that part.
Yeah, I wondered that too.
Okay,
Otherwise, we would have had to change the amount of khaki and blue and color every time.
So this is the living document.
This is the policy says that the board will, in their parent-student handbook, adopt the dress code. So you can do what you want.
What if we, and this, I don't know if this is appropriate, what if we were to send a survey out to our parents and then maybe next time we can, maybe make the changes or solidify it and see if now it's even appropriate to even have a dress code anymore? Is that, I don't know.
I mean, I think that's valid, right? I mean, not only parents, it'd be interesting to hear what, students say. Yeah, what would I like? What could I say? Parents, one argument is I already bought all the blue and the khaki, now you're telling me, but you could still wear them. We don't care what you wear, right? So
I could see that leading to bullying if
Oh,
I'm a kid who's still
I can
wearing
see
the
a lot of
uniform.
this leading to bullying.
well, and I think when I go back to, growing up as a student, I never knew why we had to wear uniforms when I was in fine arts and trace. But going to high school and recognizing that, thinking back to the reason why we have them now, I mean, even in high school, you think that'd be a way bigger place. That would be a relevance, but it's not even a relevance even in high school. So I think let alone in elementary school, I don't even think that's on the kids' mind. I think they're thinking about just showing up, because I know every day my little sister and brother get home, it's always another hour and a half before they change out of their uniforms. Go in and change out of your uniforms. And because they have to change at least 3 times a day. So they have to wake up, change out of the pajamas into the uniforms, and then go to school, and then come home, change out of the uniforms into regular day clothes, evening clothes, and then change from evening clothes to the nightgowns. That's usually how my brother and sister's days goes.
What's our recommendation? I mean, what?
I have a piece of information based on Member Barnett's statement about parents. So the PAC, the Parent Advisory Committee, was asked about the dress code. They supported the dress code because of the expense of the uniforms. It makes getting ready for school easier, and it reduces opportunities for bullying based on designer labels or affiliated clothing. They found value in the uniform drives and the community being able to share uniforms, especially in younger grades when kiddos grow so fast. So that was the feedback from the Parent Advisory Group.
How big is that parent advisory board? Because I don't know, I just wonder if that's really indicative of what our community would feel. The only reason I say so, because I think either way, whatever it is, I think we definitely, at the very least, should open up the restriction or lift the restriction as far as the outerwear, because it's not easy to find those colors or, those items. If there's a little girl, she has like a little sweater from her grandmother and it keeps her warm, she should not be precluded from wearing it because her parents were not able to find a black, white, blue, or khaki colored hoodie. She shouldn't have to be cold. So at the very least, it was that.
As a parent, I'm 100% supporting opening up sweaters and sweatshirts to any solid color, no logos. As a teacher, I could see fighting the logos on shirts. That would become cumbersome. I do think that there is some value to uniforms. I do think that trying to maybe change this whole thing now is a lot.
Yeah.
I would be open to spending maybe the next semester like talking to parents, reaching out to parents and saying this is a future discussion item entirely. But I'm getting the feeling like some want to just get rid of uniforms now, and that makes me really nervous.
Oh, no. I agree. Thank you so much for that. No, for clarification purposes, I think in the immediate, we should lift that restriction as it relates to the colors of those outerwear. They should be able to, if nothing else, have that sense of individuality by being able to wear a sweater that maybe has sentimental value or otherwise the color that's indicative of their personality. I think that's very important, even as we support social emotional, learning for kids to be able to have, at least I have to wear a uniform, but I have this sweater, this is mine, this is who I am. I think that's important. And then going forward in upcoming semesters, even next year, we should kind of start considering and seeing if that's somewhere we want to move towards, because our climate right now is not indicative of what it was when uniforms were enacted, and our kids aren't thugs. They should be able to, so listen, yeah.
I was just saying it's really easy to get my kids dressed in the morning because they have set clothes that they have to wear.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to agree with what both of you said. I think we should definitely go through this beginning of the new school year, start having those conversations with our students. I think I want to emphasize on the students and emphasize on the parents, and even emphasize on the staff. I think want to say anything, I would love to come across one teacher that I've talked to since I've became on the board that actually likes them, or any students that have been a fan of them, just to not put any staff or students on the spot. But I think,
But when they grow up, they do like broccoli.
when they grow up, they do like broccoli.
Thought that we want to see the outerwear changed. Is that something we're asking for that to be incorporated with the change?
The administration's concern is the solid color, like what Ms. Snausnick brought up. I mean, I don't think the colors themselves are, they could be individualized, but if we can stay away from, polo players or alligators or, any of those kind of things, that's helpful. So solid colors, I don't think is gonna be a concern. The parents who like having them and buying them and it makes it easy can still have them and buy them. We're not gonna prohibit them. You could say ash gray or black, if you wanted to give more options. Our whole thing is the identification issue, is that people will co-opt a symbol, that isn't co-opted now because it's not a problem now, and then that becomes affiliation thing. As long as we're plain solid colors, I don't think we have. If all the kids start showing up in pink again, because they're the pink gang, then we could probably deal with it later, but.
But you've just created the same thing we just discussed. You're now saying no alligators. Well, sometimes that's just a polo version and the alligator's like that tiny, right?
Yeah.
Or a Nike symbol, which is just a quick check mark. I mean, you're already, finding a solid outerwear, you're gonna do a sweatshirt zip up because that's normally what it is. Otherwise, everything has some little,
So we've come full circle.
yeah.
Even like I've seen, little girls with little pink sweaters with red hearts on them. It's not solid, but I wouldn't think that that's a gang affiliation. Oh, she's a harder, she's hardcore. No.
I think that's the point, right? When you start saying all solid colors, we're right back to where we started, and so that just makes it even more difficult for parents. So we gotta figure out a resolution here. So what is the thought? Let them wear anything within reason, and that can be defined, but,
Jim, can you scroll down to the outerwear section again? Because I think that was, it
And-
says same colors above.
So it's the gray,
Plus.
the green,
yeah, the
the
burgundy.
black, the burgundy.
Yeah, black and white.
All right,
Yeah.
so what if those were any solid color? Because I think the whole idea of surveying parents and spending some time talking about it would be if you want to make a bigger change, but a simple, subtle change, because this has got to go to the printer still, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this could be an immediate change, and we wouldn't need any feedback whatsoever. I don't think anybody's gonna have any backlash or want to push back and say, how dare you
Right.
allow my daughter to wear this sweater?
And I think if we think back, these are elementary school students. I think when I was in high school, I just was out of high school at West Point. My brother goes to La Jolla. This is not really an issue. And so I think that our students deserve that choice to just wear the Nike sweater that they have in their closet, or to wear the Adidas sweater they have over.
But are we saying solid colors, no logos, or are we saying Adidas? Because now we're saying two different things.
I don't think it should be restrictive, and I'll tell you why, and I see what you're saying, and I agree. I see what, you don't want there to be any disparage among students, but a lot of times, even when you don't have much, the only thing you might have might be a Nike sweater. So it's not a matter of I'm trying to, this is a symbol or a logo and it means anything. This is what I have and I want to stay warm. So I think we should lift that restriction completely as it relates to this outerwear. If that's what you have and that's what you want to wear, as long as it's not having any explicit things on it or anything that's ridiculous, which, I don't think we would have that issue within our district, within our students. I don't think there should be a restriction.
Oh, I think we'll have it.
I think we'll have it.
I mean, I don't know to what extent, but I can
we-
see people wearing something they got at Six Flags Horror Show, and it's,
Oh,
you know, it's
no.
on the
Yeah.
back. But,
As a previous middle school teacher for 9 years, I can tell you that we definitely had outerwear that was inappropriate and that was bought by parents. And
Yeah.
it is what it is. And maybe the parents didn't know what they were buying. That could easily be. I have been guilty of that as a parent. So I think in your middle school, that could become an issue. Younger grades, no, I don't foresee that, but.
So what if we were to have it where we lifted the restriction, but we specifically state no explicitives, nothing, nothing like
no cartoony.
no cartoon, yeah, nothing, it could be patterns, solid colors or patterns. It can't be anything, that is inappropriate.
Solid stripes and patterns, but not.
Well, and obviously, if a kid shows up to school with the inappropriate jacket, our teachers and our staff are going to tell them that they can't wear it. So I think the more of the thing is just so where parents and teachers don't have to tell students to take off their Nike logo that happens to be pink. I think that's kind of what we're trying to
Madam President, members of the board, I'm appreciating the discussion, but, as you move toward an alternative, the question becomes, and it's one of the things that was stated early in there is kind of our contract with the community. Whatever we're gonna put, the principals and teachers has to be enforceable without a lot of discretion, or you end up fighting about that sweatshirt all day. So as long as you're keeping it simple, then, the observation, the argument's simple, and the more complicated you get, the more argument you get, so.
So what if we did it, patterns and colors fine, no words whatsoever?
No
That-
logos?
My personal feeling is, and I'm putting my teacher hat on here, if we're gonna get that detailed, it's just as easy to say outerwear is free, because I don't want to spend my time debating about what is a pattern, what is a stripe. I don't want to do that.
We do end up doing that. It's
Yeah.
sad that it's true.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to take educational time away from students and teachers in discussing this. So if we want to make this move, and I'm not against this move, I mean, my daughter has a purple jacket and my son has a yellow jacket that they shove in their backpack every day. I'm not against it. I just think that we have to have something that's enforceable and something that's not going to take time. So if, as a board, we're saying that we want to open this up, then I guess I worry about it, but I will be okay with saying that logos are okay. It's not my favorite thing to do, because while I have seen bullying for logos and I have seen judgment and I have seen kids made fun of because they're wearing a sweater that has this logo and they can't afford another sweater and things like that. So I personally would like to stay with just solid colors, but.
I think it's important to know also that they can wear any outerwear to school. It's just in the classroom. So that's where the t-shirts, you can wear a t-shirt underneath your, uniform shirt, or these are what they can wear sitting at their chair in there. Once they enter the school, they're supposed to take off their non-approved outerwear.
I think the only problem is that those classrooms, just like an office, get freezing. You're going to yank it out of your backpack and you're going to put it on just to be warm. That's where I think then you're told to put it away, because, and then that's where the conversation starts for sure.
Yeah, and I think I can go back to when I was in middle school. That, especially during the summertime, everybody was bringing sweaters to school, and they were wearing them inside the classroom because the classroom was super cold in the summer. And so I think that's more, like Amy mentioned, more educational time going towards teachers having to have that conversation with students, and then more or less as me, as even a student going back to, I was a student, not understanding why that is, and not understanding why that's required.
I think the why is important. I know when Dr. Freeman came back from Career Day and had the discussion about, do you know why that you wear uniforms? It's one of the things that we were discussing with site administrators, going through different sections of the handbook specifically, and the uniform could be one of them, because as things happen, time passes, people forget the why. So that's definitely something that
So what are
could
we
do.
saying? We've been on this, we gotta make some decisions. What are we doing?
I'm okay with our students having the opportunity to wear any sweater that is school appropriate
With a Nike logo?
with a Nike logo
Okay.
or a.
So you're okay
yeah.
with anything except unless it's a face or something inappropriate?
Inappropriate, yeah.
Okay, I can hear that.
Yes, outerwear or anything.
Outerwear, yeah, focus just on outerwear. Rachel?
I agree.
Okay. Amy? I know this isn't a vote, but we need to make sure we're,
No, it's information only.
yeah.
I will agree to this, though I don't really want to, so I guess I don't agree.
Okay.
I feel like it should be solid colors. I just think that any solid color outerwear, but our students, they are growing, and I feel like I'm always buying a jacket for my kids, and I have my own third grader comes home talking about being bullied about his jacket because of what color it is. And I feel like if there's bullying happening because of the color of his jacket, there's going to be bullying happening because of the logo that's on it. And I could only imagine what it looks like in middle school.
It is a big deal to enforce it. When I was a teacher, we had uniforms, and just talking to them and having shirts tucked in and that different thing. So from the teaching staff's point of view, you have a few administrators in the audience, but I would tell you they do not want to pick up policing and having a decision about, is this okay? Is that okay?
So,
Solid colors doesn't turn into an argument.
Right.
Like if you wanted to wear pink.
Yeah.
But any other kind of out-facing content, no. You're inappropriate, mine inappropriate, they're inappropriate becomes the debate.
then that basically means we wear any color on the outside. It could have a Nike logo, it could have a polo brand, it could have whatever is, reasonable.
I know Pendergast is right above us, and they don't have uniforms. Is there a way that as we further have this conversation, we could see Pendergast's handbook?
I think it's online.
Is it online?
I think so.
To see what their policy is as it relates to sweaters for
Or maybe
outerwear?
we leave it, like, if you could go back and do a little bit more research and bring it back, we'll come back in June anyway, bring it back and look in other districts, and, for now, just like look at outerwear and all that other, and maybe with other suggestions, we can reach some kind of resolution. Is that acceptable?
And I think one of the things that this might help the board, we started this process 5 months ago, but we didn't have this particular question to hone in on to get feedback from all of the different groups. So I think Member Barnett said, let's start next year and ask the question. So if we kept this the way it was and we started investigating, just like when we bring other pilot things to the board and ask, we can get some more feedback from them.
But wouldn't it be nice to start the school year with parents knowing what they need to buy?
Right.
And sorry, Madam President, members of the board, part of the reason we're on this timetable, and we bring these things to you guys in the sequence because of what's going to happen first and what's going to happen next. So months of gathering input.
I don't think it
And
takes
then-
months.
No, we have had months of gathering input. And then the next is trying to finish this up, and if we're going to do what we would call like any fine tuning or minor changes, and then sending it to the printer, getting it back, getting it distributed, those kind of things. So there is a method to the calendar.
No, I understand.
And I think that a minor change, I think the answer really is kind of both. A minor change, which would be any color, I don't feel particularly bad about not going back to principals and saying, is this a big deal to you guys? But if we were going to allow anything else on there, that was deemed appropriate, we need to have a pretty thorough discussion with our building leaders and our teachers to do that, which kind of leads me to Rachel's suggestion, which is to start that process in the fall of examining that. And then because we didn't ask this particular question that's come up at the DS today, we didn't pose that to the Parent Advisory Committee. We didn't pose it to the administrators in that fashion. We asked how they feel about the dress code and if they'd want to see any changes. It was very open-ended. It wasn't, if we change this, how would that impact you?
So is the goal then just to leave it and just say solid, or are we just moving over it and waiting and doing it when we have more research? I'm still confused what we're doing.
I would like to see This is my want. I would like to see that for next year, this be changed to any solid color.
Next year
outerwear.
being July.
For July 1st, this
25.
upcoming year.
Oh,
The
24.
2024, 25.
24, 25.
Yeah, I
This
would-
to be changed to any solid color outerwear
With no logo.
with no, solid color, no logo. And then have further discussions, surveys, community input around the whole whole thing.
How much to open it up that people are comfortable with?
I would feel comfortable with that because I think that if nothing else, it would be so much easier for parents to find solid color outerwear, the different colors. How many times you have to turn it down just because it's not one of those 4 colors? So I think that would be a good compromise for now.
I agree. I think in the meantime, I'll do my research on what Pendergast does.
I think it's still gonna come back and be an issue, but okay, we'll do that and,
Is there one more slide?
There is, it's just how the information is distributed. So we have the handbook available through the parent portal, and that's part of the annual verification process. It's available on our website, and we have paper copies upon request. So that was the last piece. If you have any other questions, we'd be happy to hear that, but we'll work on this. Any solid color outerwear, no logo, make that slight change, and we'll be on our timeline.
yeah, sounds like what we
Thank you.
said.
The other changes are okay?
Yeah, there was no discussion. So Dr. Freeman, this is yours, alignment of district goals. Discussion only.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me switch over my attachments here. Um, 16, alignment of goals. So, the board was looking at an exercise as if we might simplify or zero in on a smaller number of goals. And we think through the multi-level goal-setting process, that we've moved the district in that direction. And I don't know that we did a very good job of illustrating that, so we've redone some of the attachments. But for the information of the greater community, one of the attachments is BA operational goals. That's the current 14 goals adopted in board policy, and I think people are pretty familiar with those. Do we need to open those up again? Okay. All right, and then the other 2 things that are attached is, one, the work that the board asked that we do, which is combine the 5 categories instead of 6 guiding principle categories with strategies. And then the superintendent's goal history by year to show how we've progressively moved into the alignment. So if we can open up goal and strategy alignment attachment. And zoom in a little bit. What you can see here is the addition that was made was academic excellence, ensure a rigorous, consistent curriculum. And so that is written more along the guiding principle kind of rhetoric, which is ensure is a verb that you wouldn't really use as a goal because it's going to be difficult to measure. These are the current strategies that exist inside the first guiding principle. So teachers use tiered instruction, teachers deliver instruction based on 5 quality factors, teachers focus on student learning results, and you can scroll down. These are the existing strategies that are currently adopted with the board's 14 goals, but they've been rearranged under the 5 headings we got in the study session. So the next one is 2, inclusive learning. And the current guiding principle is interactions between students, staff, and parents are respectful, collaborative, safe, and orderly. And it says create a diverse, safe, and supportive learning environment. Again, create is a challenging verb, but then the strategies underneath it are the ones that are currently under board goal 2. And if you scroll down, number 3, community engagement was the 3rd one. The guiding principle now is families are knowledgeable about how to be involved. And then the other one is community partners are involved. So in this case, those two guiding principles have been combined and collapsed to get from 6 down to 5. And then foster meaningful relationships with families. Again, foster is the challenging word. These are the strategies that currently exist under that. Then if we go down to 4, exceptional workforce, attract, develop, and retain highly competent staff. That's pretty close to what one of the goals is underneath employees are competent, responsible, nurturing. And these are, again, are the existing strategies that appear under the board's current 14 goals. Some of those you can see are things that we survey directly to staff. And if we go down to number 5, so now we have 5 goals that really seem to us to be written more like the guiding principles. And so the only way really we could organize was to take the strategies from the goals that were in the guiding principle and combine them together into those goals. What we think has happened is, in the effort to try to simplify that from 6 guiding principles down to 5 goals, is we haven't changed a lot of the work. We've just reorganized it and moved it around a little bit. So Jim, if we could close that and open up the superintendent goals history by year, and zoom in on this. And so pretty much the board has had 3 goals for the superintendent every year, and I didn't go back past fiscal year 10. That would have been a little harder to find. And just, if you just stop right there for a minute. So one of the things that we've tried to do is to move alignment of goals from the superintendent to the administrative team to the action plans of the building and to the teacher's performance to get them all aligned. But we've done it gradually over time in a collaborative process between the board, the superintendent, the administrative team, and the LEAP group that works on those issues. So here, and this was, I'm sure I said this to the board, but I can't remember which year and if everybody here was on the board when I said it. So, because members change. When we first proposed the monitoring report, and we had 12 goals, I think, the idea was you would pick 3 of those to focus in on. The monitoring report wouldn't give you all the data on all the goals every year. So for instance, we have a goal on being an efficient organization. We have an audit finding. When we do the audit and when we do the ACR and those things, we bring them to the board, and then we bring them to you again in the monitoring report. When we get test scores back, we bring those to the board, but then we bring them to you again in the monitoring report. So the idea would be those areas that are most important to the board are where the staff put most of their energy and aren't constantly reporting on all 12 or 14 or 16 things. At that time, the board still wanted to see all the data. The sentiment of the board seems to have shifted a little bit because the things you're asking to see are the work that we're having to do, right? So if you ask to see 3 out of the 14 things instead of all 14 things, more of our time and work goes toward that than the rest. So here you can see, and if you look at, pay attention to goal 1, goal 1 has almost historically always been focused on some measure of learning, school performing labels or ABs or test scores or something. Goal 2 is benchmark growth, which is internal testing. That's the stuff that we control and we can get before the kids go home for the summer. We can measure progress in a shorter interval of time. And the other was to increase volunteers. That was an interest of the board that year. That became the 3rd goal. So Jim, if we go through here just, maybe at kind of a medium speed, see again, learning. Here we depart from that because we want to do a 200-day calendar. It's a huge amount of transition planning and work that needs to be done by the administrative team. But in 13-14, you see we go right back to wanting all in B-rated, A and B-rated schools, which depends on test scores and other measures. Family involvement becomes a big issue to members of the board, and so you can see in goal 3, that starts to appear in 13-14 and in 14-15. If we scroll down, You can see middle school math scores pops up. Teacher retention becomes an issue after we did the 200 days. We lost a third of our teachers 3 years in a row, so it became a big focus of the district to hang on to the ones we had. And so to try to increase that, you can see that year they did. The results aren't in all of these, but in that one, they got left in the cut and paste, and now it's up to over 92%. But that was in response to the data that we were getting on performance of the district. If we keep scrolling down, AZ Merit then is the new test. AZ Merit, AZ Merit, AZ Merit, we want the scores to go up. And then the social emotional stuff is ACEs in school, is a Kids at Hope thing, but that's connection between adults and kids. Teacher retention shows back up, AZ Merit Math, and you can see the scores pop up all the time. Sometimes they're more than one goal. Okay, here we have 1920, look what happened. COVID. We pretty much went remote, and so what we did is we took everybody, put them on the same page, used all the same data, and I think everybody was at 71% goal satisfaction or something. If we keep scrolling down now, it's where you're going to start to see more and more alignment. See Dreambox, Achieve 3000, internal measures, documenting 3 reciprocal calls was to increase parent engagement, and go down to the last page. Now we've started aligning in 21-22 and 22-23 the teacher performance classroom site fund, which you guys approved tonight, the IAPs that the principals went over with you, and the superintendent's goals. So really at all levels of the district, people are working on the same thing, and these are SMART goals. They're measurable and attainable, and people are working with strategies on all of those. But we are still doing the work of reporting every year on all 14 goals in those strategies. So this probably could use, some refinement if we got everybody focused in on 3 big ideas, because what you'll see here is for 24-25, the goals are set for K3 reading and 4-8 math. Attendance and chronic absenteeism are still on the radar as a problem. We've made some headway, but it's still an issue. And then family engagement, and that is community events related to volunteer availability. And we're using that scale that the LEAP committee came up with for the percent of payout on those goals. Now that's become consistent over time. So really what the board's going to work on when you come back and start getting data from this year is, what do you want to do for, Jim, scroll down just a little bit. Do you want to continue in this process with the goal setting with the superintendent, with LEAP and the admin in between, to get everybody on the same set of goals within the framework of the 14? Do you want to throw the framework of the 14 out and just have 3 and change them? The reason that we have this as a rolling cycle is so that they have some predictability, but we can also plan for resources, policy changes, and those kind of things that need to happen. So we try to really front load that. I think that the district's done a good job of moving in that direction, but I don't know that we've done a good job of explaining to everybody how it fits together and why we do it that way, and that these processes are in place. And that might be a little bit because we're still reporting on everything. So, our recommendation right now is, of course, we're getting ready to launch the 24-25 school year. The board could come back in another session and start talking about the 25-26. If you want to continue with this format, change the format, change the monitoring report format. Those are all kind of things that are up in the air, but whatever you discuss, we still have to have a plan to operationalize it, to turn it into resources and measures. And those are the strategies that we use. So this is not really anything that requires a vote tonight. It's a follow-up to the study session, maybe adding an extra layer of information. What we gave you before was all of these on separate documents instead of aligning them chronologically. So it's a different view of the material. And it's the other document that the board asked for. And I think, Madam President, especially because we've had a lot of debate tonight, it really becomes a question of, putting this on the agenda again in the fall for, consideration about how to move forward.
Yeah,
And
we're
and
going to
kind of a
have,
continuing education process.
right, you'll have perhaps, you have a new superintendent coming in, you'll have potentially a new board coming in. I mean, I think at this point, rather than scratching it or saying, you kind of wait to see the leadership, the development, what it looks like, and then bring it back accordingly. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think I love the format, the new format that you presented to us. Thank you guys for putting all of what we presented at our study session together into this. I think it looks great. And I think I agree with Kathy, thinking about the superintendent stuff, that's going to be, we'll have to see how that plays out as we go through the process, and then seeing how that superintendent wants to do their stuff, and then however that plays out. But I think the goals, this document in front of me is fine for the 24-25 school year. I think it's okay for me.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So for item 17, I'm sorry. You almost got me. There was a request besides dress code. The other request Member Sinisteros made last time was to talk about proclamations for June. And we had previously discussed this, and the communication team had put together a chart. What we did for the purpose of the meeting tonight is rebuilt that information in a table form. And Jim, if you could open the attachment table. So what you see here is the recognition of days, week, months, and proclamations. So I don't know about you guys, but like I'm watching the news in the morning every day, I find out this is another month for somebody and another week for somebody, and some of them are serious and some of them are National Taco Day or something. And so it seems to me like there's an endless list of things that could go on here. What we looked at when we looked at proclamations is those are lists of things that are related to the work we do. But there's a whole bunch of other things that are things we also do. So for instance, Black History, the kids always do some kind of project. Attendance awareness is something we hit really hard at the beginning of the year. Appreciation of our different staff members. We don't do so much on the 100th day, but some of those days, like very top corner New Year's is a federal holiday, so everybody's observing that. Not really discretionary for us. But we wanted to give you a complete look kind of in one page, because the idea is, do you want to add a proclamation or a recognition of a month or a week or a day in another fashion to show you the whole layout? And then the question, of course, is what to prepare for the June meeting.
Thank you. Bring it back up. I'll open it up for comments or questions.
Yeah, thank you for getting this together and presenting it to us. I think it definitely is gives me a refresher of what to look forward to in our social media pages. I think, we historically think about, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, recognizing historically marginalized groups in our district and recognizing the contributions that they've contributed to get to where they are and the rights that they have now. The one that I find missing, whether it be a month or a proclamation, is just LGBTQ+, which in June is recognized as a month, but they're actually, most people don't know this, October is actually the designated LGBTQ+ History Month. So I think when we talk about Women's History Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month.
I think it's also cancer, isn't it, too? Everybody wears pink in October.
Yeah, in October as well. And so I think when we think about historically marginalized people in our communities and fighting for them and recognizing them, I've experienced my own personal things growing up as a closeted gay kid in our district and in our community. And it was challenging, personally. It took me a lot to get to where I am today. So I think about my story as a kid and think about just the amazing other stories that kids go through. And finding who they are is a very battling journey. And so I think as I'm asking is that how could we, as a district, find a way to include the LGBTQ plus community publicly and proudly in our district? And that's my 2 cents.
Okay, other comments? So what I hear you saying is you don't really have, where it's a proclamation or a month, you're just asking for some type of public recognition for, did I understand that correctly?
For the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay.
In the form of as I mentioned right here, months, which we, correct me if I'm wrong, when we do Black History Month, we don't proclaim it Black History Month. We usually just do it during technical project. I feel like we've
We do
proclaimed
what?
it. I feel like we've proclaimed Black History Month before, have we?
No.
Never proclaimed. Okay.
No. Our
I think we've had
proclamations.
MLK Day.
Our
That's
proclamations,
missing.
we've always tried to keep to the work that we do as a school district, which is leadership, stuff like that, and not so much focused on writing different proclamations for, different groups or other things. So that doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. That's just what historically proclamations are usually used for, things you do as it relates back to the school. So, sounds like you don't have a preference of what you would like to see. It's just to see it. Is that?
Well, I think that you're using your historical context. I think the best thing to do would add on months, whether it be June as Pride Month, celebrating the community, or whether it be October, adding the History Month, celebrating the history of the community.
Which kind of goes with bullying a little.
Yeah, which kind of goes with bullying, very, very extensively bullying. That could be added to here. And that, whether it be a social media post recognizing the month, or whether it be a first annual
How do
event.
we do the others? Do we do social media for all the others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's,
So that would be in the
different
same
rotations of
format
things.
of the others.
I like, because I think too, I want to protect those kids and keep them out of harm's way, but I don't also want to pick a fight with the people who would love to see them in harm's way. Because I think, just like you experienced, there's a contingent of people that would bully given any opportunity. So I kind of like the idea of having that together, because I don't think any kind of bullying is ever appropriate.
You mean in the October month?
Well, I mean, I didn't know that before tonight, but as he's discussing it, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. My interest is, having them feel safe.
Sure.
So they're able to come to school without fear of anything and able to learn. I mean, that's my role. How that all fits together, I think, in a lot of ways, our society is still figuring that out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've truly, through the voting rights, civil rights era, they've earned the rights, but they haven't earned the same acceptance, I would say, which ends up in a lot of behavioral things. And now, I'm afraid, like a lot of people, our country's moved backwards in a lot of those regards. So that just makes sense to me. I was just sharing that. I'm not saying that if, how the board should go, but that resonated with me when you said that.
So we, just to clarify, Member Senators, if it is moved to October and it already is the National Bullying Month, would it kind of piggyback off of that? Or would there be something, or would this be two separate things? And then second question is, with June being Equity and Inclusion Month and the board making that, not the month, excuse me, there being a proclamation in June for that, would it be appropriate, you think, to, in the proclamation of equity and inclusion, make reference to the LGBTQ community during that? Like, what would be best?
Didn't we do that last time?
Well, I know we did, but I think when we think about the October History Month, I think I would like to see that as just its own recognition for the LGBTQ plus community and our students and our staff who identify as, and our community members who do. But we think about equity and inclusion. I think that one is, Kathy mentioned. I think, in all honesty, I think we should, equity and inclusion should be every month. So I think it would be best, if the board would agree to recognizing October or June in the months as Pride Month or October as LGBTQ History Month, and then removing the Equity and Inclusion Month proclamation.
Amy, you had a comment?
I am open to either of those ideas. I would just caution us that once you start this, like, then you're gonna have another group come up. Like, so in the few minutes I've been sitting here, according to the Library of Congress, who I took, October is also Disability Awareness Month. You also have Native American History Month in November, and you have like every month has one. And so I would caution us that I don't want us to make proclamations just because we should make proclamations. Like, there should be something towards it. So I feel like if we're going to do it for one underrepresented community, we should reevaluate this whole thing to look at all of our other communities that we have out there.
Well, I know as we talk about Native, I know school districts actually, Central Phoenix school district areas, they actually recognize this land as stolen land from the Indian community before, and they do a tribal land acknowledgement at the beginning of every board meeting. So I think as we think about recognizing this land, which was stolen from the Native community, that could be a way that we can incorporate that into another marginalized communities. We know Natives, Black people, women, and LGBTQ plus people have been the most categorized people who have been historically marginalized. So I think as we think about just the basic categories, yeah.
What were the other ones that you found?
I'm going to go back to what I said originally. I am, my only concern, wherever you, I don't think it's a proclamation, because again, to me, a proclamation is what the work we do here, like we create something. It goes very much back to your comment, and I've said it out loud before on record. I don't want to do that. Again, if I'm Native American, if I'm Asian, whatever I am, what keeps me from coming and saying that I've been treated unfairly, that why can't I have the same thing? What stops that from getting so far out of hand that you've lost the whole content of what the intention of it is to do? And it's just a question, because I struggle with it. I struggled with it last time. It doesn't matter, wherever you put it, I get that. But where do you draw the line to say we can't possibly encompass every single, different disability or nearsighted, far, whatever it is, where do we stop that at? And that I don't understand.
Well, I think the short-termer is, as leaders in public education, it's our goal to tackle every issue that comes before us. And I think when we think about where does it stop, it never stops, right? I think it never stops people being bullied or discriminated simply because of what they represent.
No question for many of us about the bullying. Absolutely. I've seen that, and my grandson would fit in none of those categories, but I've seen it to the level that it was dangerous. So I don't know how to address all those other than what's, identifiable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my pennies. So I don't know where we're going with this. I think I don't know if we need to talk about it more. I don't know if we're ready to say, okay, we could put it in October. What are we saying?
Would the board be okay with, just two questions. Would the board be okay with recognizing June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in our months?
So you're asking just in the months, which I'm assuming months leans back to our social media things. Would we be okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
I think as a month and just representing that community and putting a spotlight on that community, I am okay with it. Going with Kathy, I would not feel quite comfortable with the proclamation unless there's something we're saying in the proclamation.
I'm not asking for a proclamation.
Okay.
Yeah. We've already gone through that last year.
And I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I feel like I don't want to just I read a lot of our proclamations, and I don't want to be reading every board meeting for our proclamations.
Rachel?
I'll be fine with June being Pride Month.
Yeah, if we're just going, I think how you said it best. I don't want to you know, if that spotlight is for June and that's it, and we're embracing the community, I think that's fine. That wording will be critical, because you'll have some community, not saying it's right or wrong, but you put that up in that big billboard, there's gonna be communities, and you'll have this room, doesn't matter, we could certainly, you know, but we just need to know that will happen. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, we just need to be prepared what that may or may not have consequences of what we think can and cannot happen.
Well, and I would, as someone who's gone through it, hiding myself, you know, personally from my parents, you know, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to put a Pride Month logo on the billboard. And if people want to show up, then I think we show as a board that we stand for the LGBTQ community, and let them show up and let them be upset.
But I'm
Short terms.
just going to ask you, because I should, are you saying that because this is in the best interest of Littleton, or are you saying that because it's in the best interest of Marcus?
I think it's in the best interest of all of our students and our
Okay.
community.
That's fair.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I think we have, this is not an action item, is it? Let me look.
Well, the idea was to get us ready for action in June, because that was the original request. I think, from a management point of view, you know, it's kind of like a Hippocratic oath, first do no harm, is our priority still is reading, writing, mathematics, you know, social development. So I think, you know, it's kind of like free speech. You have free speech until you yell fire in an auditorium, and then it's not free speech anymore. There may be a way to couch that in a way, for instance, I'm thinking, you know, everybody deserves equal protection under the law. You know, that somebody who would object to that would have to be pretty crude. But that I disagree that we should bring that fight to our boardroom when we have all of these, you know, math and reading and chronic absenteeism and parent engagement and all the other things. We have our own big battles to fight, and we're already shorthanded. I think I'm speaking for more staff than just myself to take on another battle, you know, because it's not just going to be the board when that happens. It's going to be everybody that works here. So if there's a way we can advocate and not take on a battle, I think that's, from the management point of view, the smart course. I don't know what that looks like. Like I said, it could be, I certainly believe everybody deserves equal protection under the law and those kind of things. So there's.
Could you do that and then flash various groups under that? Could you do Native American, whatever disability, LGBTQ, right? Could you do that encompassing many, or as many as
Yeah.
it would make sense?
I think there are inflammatory times in our culture and our history. So, I mean, I think the LGBTQ community has been under fire a lot. You think of like shootings and different things that happen at nightclubs and things that are just terrible. Right now, it's anti-Semitism is ballooned up into this big national and community issue. And so, you know, I don't know what's going to be next. But I think there are probably some fundamental things that we should stand for. I just think, you know, for the work that we do out trying to help kids, you know, grow academically and socially, I don't think anybody else wants to bring another fight to the floor. We're consumed with the fight we're in, you know, against illiteracy and poverty and attendance and all of those other things. That's not saying what should or shouldn't go on this chart. It's just the workforce point of view.
Well, I don't think it's a fight. I mean, I don't want to say something. As a young closeted kid in our district, I think if I would have seen a Pride Month proclamation, I mean not proclamation, but Pride flag on the board saying it's okay to be who I am, and that my school district supports it publicly, I think I would have felt more courage as a young kid to come out to my parents. And I think that it's okay. You know, it's okay. And I think we can't listen to the fear-mongering and seeing all the stuff that we've seen in Peoria and we've seen in Mesa over trans students. And I think we have to stand up to it and say that it's okay, because women fought years for that. Black people fought years for that before Black History Month was recognized. So I think it's I think we're missing one last very, 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 very historically marginalized community. And I think that's just my personal experience and preference. And I think, we see the city of Avondale just recently recognized the first month in their history, LGBTQ plus Pride Month last June. And then we've seen them pass a non-discrimination ordinance recently, the end of last year. So there is a big push to really be more inclusive and publicly recognize this community. And I think we should follow suit.
Where would it be put at? And I think that's smart.
Can I add something? Towson Union has a really good, I think my second year of high school, they proclaimed June as Pride Month for the first time ever on their board. And they have I believe they have an LGBTQ plus flag that flies at Sarah Linda or Copper Canyon. Can't remember what it is, which campus it is. Yeah. But I think, want more personal preference, it started for me in 5th grade, personally. I think it starts in middle school, and that's why I emphasize so much on us starting that conversation in middle school and supporting them early on, because it does lead to a way more stronger mental mind. I think it would have helped me personally a little bit more. But I think going and talking to other school districts in the area that do recognize June as Pride Month, I think, see how they do it. And then emphasize it, not on just about showing a pride flag, emphasizing the historical context about why we stand up for them.
I think that's fair. And just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think that if we do not get that information, then it will be a waste anyway. Because if all it's going to be is just something on the billboard that flashes, the likelihood of a student, who is struggling with those feelings and struggling with self-identity, sitting here watching, waiting for the billboard to rotate, it's not going to do nothing for them. You see what I'm saying? All of these things, if it's just a picture, it's not going to do anything. It goes back to deeper things, inclusion, equality, teaching our students all of these things, and that's going to trickle over to everything. So I think I agree with what you're saying in terms that it does need to be, because a lot of, just as you were struggling with that, you were feeling those feelings in 5th grade. I'm sure there's a lot of children who are in our district who are grappling with those feelings as well, and they need to be made aware of the fact that whatever they're feeling is okay, and that they don't have to be shamed about anything. But I don't think that if it's just going to be, this is going to be what this month is going to represent, but then that's the beginning, middle, and end of it. That's just what it is. That's not going to do nothing for nobody.
favorite thing. Not really.
Madam President, there's a lot of information here, and we ask board members to kind of read through this and, for you to lead a discussion. The material you have is last year's stuff, last year's association, last year Littleton. There's not a whole lot of change in the problems we have in Arizona. So,
Well, we do need, who is our delegate this year?
we don't have to turn the delegate in yet. There's a separate calendar for that. I don't know if that's in the details. I know Ada and I talked about it.
just said Saturday, September 7th, delegate assembly, so I was kind of, and select August, it shows August.
Right now, I think we're just picking our priorities to send to the committee, the legislative committee for ASBA, and then they formulate
Their language.
their language, and then
Yeah,
whoever's our delegate goes and
we gave you those dates because sometimes people just would like to go but aren't available to attend. So we have to find somebody that both wants to and works with their calendar.
So those 2024 political agenda priorities, which are listed,
Are you looking at Littleton's or
looking
Arizona?
at Littleton's.
Yeah,
how does the Littleton?
So from what I understand, these pretty much have been the same thing. We've worded them differently, but we've had the same basis.
And that's because there's no progress made on them.
Yeah, I know.
So it is, they're so critical key points, and so I would agree with you 100%. I don't see anything else I would change. I mean, you could reword it all day long, that's just wordsmithing, right?
And we spend all day Saturday, whoever's at delegate assembly, rewording it to make everyone happy. So
reword.
All right, well, it sounds
The-
like we're fine with what, is there and moving
The
it
only
forward.
thing that pops into my mind, given the Friends of ASBA, which is now what? Yeah, they changed their name. It's better because it's something for Arizona schools or something. Is
Wordsmithing.
they get in political trouble, like they want to buy a glass of wine for a school board member and it's inside dealing or something. Now it's Friends of Arizona Schools, and I think they'll have a little more latitude. The big issue du jour, which fits in number one, and I don't think you have to write anything, is the amount of money vouchers are taking out of the general fund.
Oh,
And so that, we had these narrow voucher groups before, and now we have universal vouchers.
Yep.
And
They're
they're almost completely unregulated, and they're approaching $1 billion. I talked to Governor Ducey's finance guy before the election, and they think there's way more kids coming.
oh, yeah.
That we've only, their estimate was between private school and homeschool, that this number's gonna get bigger. I don't know if you wanna call that out. I don't know if it's gonna become an issue when you get to the floor. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is, so we have adequately and ethically funded school districts. They are not taking action on the excess land trust revenues. because they're fighting about other stuff. And that's super frustrating. That, that would be extra money to everybody who works here, which would make a big difference, and no actions being taken. And we're bleeding out money on vouchers. Now, to me, that is all part of adequately and equity funding, but I think,
Well, if you want to put a bullet in there somewhere that kind of specifically calls it out.
there's a failure to address revenue and things that are putting pressure on the state general fund or something that should be addressed. I think it fits in there, but I don't know what. No, adequately, number one. Because it's about funding. No, there is, though you're right, though, the vouchers would fall under accountability. It says ESA's in there.
Yeah, it does say that.
Okay, so maybe,
I think it's already addressed.
yeah, well, I think to Ms. Sausnick's point, it's gonna get argued on the floor again anyway.
It will.
Let them spend the time on that.
I think,
Madam President, this was discussed in executive session, and
yes.
I think there's some idea of how the board wants to move forward, so we could have, we will open up. The RFQ was closed to the public because the board hadn't considered it yet, but it becomes open in the minutes. And so if you propose any changes, those will be reflected in the minutes and the public record. Otherwise, I don't know if there's a need to have more discussion. You can do that if you.
I kind of laid it out what the thought would need a motion if there's no further discussion.
I move that the governing board approve the release of the request for proposal with the changes in scoring to equal weight for sections 2, 3, and 4 for superintendent search consulting services
Thank you.
with a release date of May 15th, 2024 and a response deadline of May 24th, 2024.
Perfect, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We made it before 9